Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto power of Nothingness bleach. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by MedrickLanster and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Escape from the imprisoned hell. Naruto sits on his bed as he stares at the crescent moon on the night sky from his bedroom. Well, bedroom would be the wrong word to use in this situation. The white walls, single bed, chair and desk with a lamp weren't the things to describe the room of a child. Prison would be more appropriate. As Naruto continues to look at the moon, he thinks back to how he got here. Naruto never knew about his parents. He was told that he was found at the doorsteps of the local orphanage before he was taken in. The only thing on his person when he was taken in was an orange blanket he was wrapped in with his name etched into it and a blue and white striped scarf. Although, Naruto could recall a warm feeling enveloping his body. It was warm and comforting like a fireplace. He wondered if that was a memory of his parents, but how could remember something from when he was baby? Could it be some instinctual connection that allows him to recall the feeling? But that wasn't the only thing he remembered. He could also remember several other feelings. One that felt very cold like winter. It felt like death itself had its grip on him. The second was hot. Not the warm comforting kind, but like a burning inferno. It felt like hate incarnate had been given physical form. That one terrified him as he recalled it, but he also felt the warm one trying to soothe his worries. The last one was the oddest of them all. It was cold, but not like the other one. This one felt different. As it was an empty void that left him feeling nothing. However, the oddest part was that he did not feel any danger from it. In fact, he felt comforted, at peace in its presence. Naruto never understood what these feelings meant, and even now he has no idea what any of these feelings could exactly represent or belong to. Not like it would help him in his current situation. He recalled his days in the orphanage were relatively peaceful, all things considered. He had a roof over his head, got at least 3 meals a day, and had people that worried about his well-being. It was a decent lifestyle. He had a small group of friends that he hung around with, although they would tease him about his birthmarks as they looked like whiskers. Although one of his friends would never tease him. Her name was Namen. She would always say his birthmarks made him look cute. That always got him to blush, but he always did appreciate her words. There was one other thing that separated Naruto from the rest of the children. On several occasions, Naruto could be seen talking to himself. And not comments to himself, but actually have full-blown conversations. Many of the adults just assumed he created an imaginary friend and saw no reason to say anything. The other children thought something was off with him and tended to keep a distance from him. Even his friends, except Namen, thought he was kinda weird for this. What they didn't know was that Naruto was not talking to himself. He had a special gift. He could feel, see, and communicate with departed spirits. Naruto first noticed his abilities when he was 3. He was trying to talk to a spirit that was sulking near the playground of the orphanage. The spirit was shocked that he could see him let alone talk to him. He then slowly explained to Naruto that he was a spirit and Naruto had a special power that allowed him to speak to spirits. Being any normal 3-year-old, Naruto was having difficulty processing everything, but he was excited to hear that he was someone special. Ever since then he talked to any spirits that wandered into the orphanage. Apparently, his presence attracted the spirits. However, he was not the only one who could see spirits. Namen would later reveal she could see spirits. Naruto was excited to have another person that he could talk to about spirits without looking crazy. All was going well, that was until the fire that consumed the entire orphanage. He doesn't know who or what started it, but he remembers vividly what it felt like to be trapped in that inferno. It was something that still haunts him to this day. The fire covered the entire building as the temperature continued to rise to unbearable levels. Smoke covered the entire area and made it impossible to see a few feet ahead, and the toxic smog could easily cause people to go into a coughing fit. Naruto clutched his arm and leg in pain from the burns he received from the falling debris. He used his scarf as a makeshift bandage. Namen was clutching his other side as she sobbed at their desperate situation. The two had tried to escape from the inferno, but they got lost on their way and are now huddling in a corner with nothing protecting them. "Naruto, I'm scared. What's going to happen to us?" Namen desperately asked. Naruto gritted his teeth in pain as looked at Namen with pained but determined eyes. "I'll get us out. I don't know how, but I will." That's when the two began to hear some cricking. The two children looked up to see the burning ceiling about to collapse. "Namen, go. I can't run like this. But you can at least get out of the way," Naruto shouted. Namen shook her head vehemently. "No. I won't leave you. Namen, please, I don't want you to get hurt," Naruto pleaded, but Namen held on to him even tighter. "I refuse to leave you alone to die here." Namen cried again. She knew Naruto could not get out of the way due to the injuries to his arm and leg, and she refused to leave him all alone. Suddenly the roof began collapsing down on them. Namin held onto Naruto and closed her eyes and waited for the inevitable. Naruto glared at the falling down upon them. No. I don't want Namin or myself to die here. I don't want us to die. I want to live. Naruto shouted as his vision was covered in darkness and everything became silent. The next thing Naruto knew was that he could breathe normally again. He slowly blinked his eyes as he realized he was staring at a cloudy night sky as rain poured down. He could hear sirens of the firemen and police not too far from him. Naruto then heard behind the sirens and rain, he could hear someone sobbing. He turned to see Namin crying as she had her face in her hands as she did not notice he was awake. Naruto swallowed as he tried calling out. "And no Namin?" he weakly asked. Namin paused as she lifted her head to show her puffy red eyes and tear-stained cheeks. "Naruto?" she asked hesitantly. Naruto nodded. Namin quickly brought him into a tight hug. She quickly began crying again as she was so glad to see he was alright. Naruto did his best to calm the girl's worries as she continued to cry for several minutes. After some time, Namin was finally calmed down enough for Naruto to ask her something. "Namin, what happened? How did we get here? How are we still alive?" he asked, but Namin sadly shook her head. "I don't know, Naruto. All I remember was the debris coming down and then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, we were here," she explained. Naruto was completely stumped. How did they get out of there without any injuries? More importantly, what were they gonna do now that the orphanage was gone? Then the two children felt a presence behind them as a shadow appeared as it covered their small bodies. The two children turned to see a man standing behind them. He was around average height with shaggy brunette hair. He wore a pair of glasses and his body was covered in a black cloak. The thing that was off to the children was his smile. It looked so artificial, so fake. It was like seeing a doll smiling. It felt plastered, not genuine. Two children that are spiritually aware and at such a young age. The stranger mused as then looked at the remains of the orphanage as the fire began to go down. "And that power you used to get out of that burning building. How interesting." Naruto tilted his head in confusion. "What power?" The man raised an eyebrow in curiosity. You were not aware of what you did. Then perhaps it was triggered by your desire to survive." The man's smile grew slightly bigger. "You two have caught my interest." Naruto moved his workable arm in front of Namin as she tried to hide behind his back. Who are you?" a nervous Namin asked. The man simply continued to smile, as if their actions amused him to no end. "My name is Sasuke-san, and from this day forward, you two will be under my custody." The two were enveloped in darkness once more. For the next 3 years, all Naruto knew was pain and suffering. The man called Aizen and his assistant, Sale, would continuously stab, poke, and rip his body apart. Day in and day out. It was pure utter hell for poor little Naruto. One day, Naruto was once again strapped to the lab table and he idly wondered what did Sale have in store for him this time. He turned his head when he heard footsteps approaching him. From the shadows Sale came out with that same arrogant smirk. What was different this time was that he was holding a sword in his hands. "The evening, Naruto, how are you feeling? I hope my favorite project is doing well." Sale politely asked as Naruto scoffed. "You already know the answer to that." "Yes, but a surgeon should give courtesy to his patient." "Forgive me if I don't see it that way." "Suit yourself." Sale shrugged before lifting the sword in his hands up. "Now then, can you tell me what this is?" "It's a Zanpakuto. It's the signature weapon of the Shinigami, a rancor, and visored. They are blades that are a piece of the Shinigami soul formed into a weapon. It's a literal extension of the Shinigami and is unique to each one. Every Zanpakuto has a unique name that represents the spirit residing within the blade. Their powers and abilities are based on the soul of the Shinigami. The rancors Zanpakuto are manifestations of their power and are used to seal away the majority of their power when not in combat. Visored are simply Shinigami that have hollow powers." Sale clapped with a prideful look in eyes. "Very good, Naruto. I am sure Aizen will be pleased that you paid attention to his lessons." Naruto simply stared at the rancor. He was well aware of what his Zanpakuto was. When Naruto wasn't used as a lab rat, Aizen would personally teach him about the world he was now a part of. He was educated on the Zanpakuto, the Shinigami, the Gate 13, Hollows, Wako Mundo, Minos, a rancor, etc. Aizen even trained Naruto in the Kido arts. He was honestly surprised to see how adept Naruto was in the arts. Whether Bakudo, Heido, healing or barrier, Naruto took it all like a fish to water. To Aizen, it was like seeing another version from himself, which amused him to no end. "So why do you have a Zanpakuto? I know that's not yours since I can clearly see yours still sheathed on your hip. Did you make a clone of it?" Naruto asked as Sale shook his head. "An amusing idea, but not exactly. You see, this is a nameless Zanpakuto or an Asauchi. I am sure Aizen explained how the Shinigami Academy works, correct?" Naruto nodded. Well, each new graduate is given a blade like this. They are to eat, sleep, train and fight with the sword day in and day out. As time passes, the Shinigami's spiritual energy is transferred into the blade until eventually, it becomes that Shinigami's true Zanpakuto. You mean when they meet the spirit and learn their name? Naruto asked. Sale nodded. Correct. So we're going to try and make me into a Shinigami? Sale shook his head. Not exactly. Aizen and I have a more interesting idea. Before Naruto asked what he meant, the blade shattered into 20 pieces. I plan to implant these 20 pieces into your body. I then plan to extract pieces of your soul and merge them with the blade shards to see what will happen. Will you develop 20 different weapons and abilities, or will they all come together to form one single weapon? Sale then snapped his fingers. The blades each pierce a different part of Naruto's body. Naruto gritted his teeth to stop a scream that wanted to erupt from his lungs. Sale smiled in amusement. Your pain tolerance is quite impressive. You've come a long way from how you were when you first came here. Sale then moved his hand in front of Naruto's chest as it began to glow a dark purple. Suddenly a black hole appeared on the young blonde's chest. Naruto was about to freak out when he saw a blue orb appeared out of the black abyss. Is this my Naruto began before Sale confirmed. Yes, this is your soul. Now then, soul extraction can be quite painful, so I won't blame you for screaming. Sale then gave him a dark smirk as Naruto glared at him. So bear with this. No words could ever describe the excruciating pain of having pieces of your soul ripped out off of you. Naruto screamed for hours on end until his throat became hoarse and he was reduced to pain-filled whimpers and sobs. However, these experiments did bear success. Naruto eventually did discover he had a weapon. A pair of red and blue energy blades. Naruto learned while using the blades that they could be used as bludgeoning weapons or sharp blades that can cut through most hollows like butter. He also could even reshape them into other weapons, fire the blades from his palms, create lighting attacks, and even barriers. Aizen was intrigued by the versatility of his weapons and gave them the name Ethereal Blades and wondered what other surprises Naruto had in store with him. When Naruto was without Aizen, Sale or Tausen, who watched him during his spars with low-ranking hollows, he had a guardian assigned to him. Her name was Neliel Tuaterschwinker Nell for short. Nell was assigned to watch both Naruto and Namen and to make sure they don't try to run away. Nell was a really gentle person as she never did anything to harm him. She simply comforted him and listened to all his problems. Nell also protected him from that bastard Neutra, who always tried to bully and beat the poor blonde. However, Nell always came to his rescue and stopped him from doing anything along with stopping Neutra from trying anything against Namen. That was another thing he appreciated from Nell. Aside from Tausen, she was the only one who treated with some kind of compassion. She would tell him about how Namen was faring through all of this. Thankfully she was not being experimented on like he was, but she was being tested for her abilities, but Nell was never exactly told about Namen's abilities in tale. She did say that Namen had taken up drawing to pass the time. Nell would consistently tease him about how Namen's notebook was filled with drawings of Naruto. Either by himself, when he was orphanage, or him holding hands with Namen. It always caused Naruto to blush something fierce. There were even some drawings of the three of them together, like one big happy family. It was probably the happiest time he had in this prison. That was until Nell disappeared. He doesn't know how or why, but for some reason, Nell just stopped showing up. One of the other Espada, Alquiora, came and told him that Nell was gone. That really shattered Naruto. Nell, along with Namen, was the only things keeping him sane in this place. Now she was gone, which left him in a rather depressed state. What's worse, without her, he couldn't get updates on Namen. Things took a turn for the worse as now Neutra had no one to stop him from his bullying of little Naruto. However, Naruto finally snapped during one of his Neutra's attack as he revealed that he was the reason that Nell was gone. I'll let you know something. I was the one that got rid of Neliel. I killed her useless Frachian, which distracted her enough to deliver a finishing blow on her. Neutra laughed. That bitch was so pathetic. It served her right to fall by me. She was unworthy of being the Tres Espada. She was too soft to be amongst our ranks. And soon I will be one step closer to being the strongest Espada here. That was the final straw that broke Naruto. Suddenly the moon began to glow in a golden aura as the area began to darken. Neutra and his Frachian Tezra were stumped at what was going on. That was until they felt a fierce spiritual pressure surround them. They looked to see Naruto glaring hatefully at him. Naruto's entire body was covered in a dark blue and black aura as his eyes were glowing an eerie yellow. Naruto had never felt so angry in his life. All the pain he suffered under Aizen and Sale, they were all coming out and Neutra would be the unfortunate target of all that anger. Naruto raised his hand as a giant blue and white claymore appeared. This was another weapon he discovered. He paused. He named the claymore Lunatic. Without much warning, Naruto disappeared in a blur before reappearing right in front of the fifth Espada. Neutra had little time to react as he was slugged by Naruto with his claymore. The sheer force of the blow was strong enough to slam him into the wall. Tezra was shocked at what he just saw and glared at the brat for insubordination. He fired a zero to teach the brat to respect his superiors. However, Tezra was shocked when Naruto managed to block the attack with his claymore. Naruto then slammed his claymore into Tezra's gut before wailing on the bastard before slamming him into the wall. Noitra glared at Naruto as he got out of the wall. "You little bastard. You'll pay for that." Noitra roared as he began charging a zero. Naruto quickly changed to his ethereal blades and pumped all the power he could into his palms. "Zero." Noitra roared. Naruto roared back as he summoned an energy wall to block the hollow flash. Naruto was pushed back several feet back before he finally found some footing. "You're going die brat like that green-haired bitch." Noitra mocked as he failed to realize the landmine he kept stepping on. Naruto glared at the fifth espada as his spiritual pressure exploded again. "What?" Noitra shouted in shock. How much power did this brat have? With one last roar of defiance, he pumped the rest of spiritual energy into the wall and reflected the zero back at Noitra. The fifth espada was left stunned as he was hit with his own attack. Naruto fell to his knees, completely exhausted. From the smoke came Noitra with a slightly burned chest. "You brat. That's it. You're going to die now." Noitra roared as he unsheathed his Zanpakuto. Pray Noitra began to chant as he was about to release his Zanpakuto, but enough. Someone said. The two turned to see Tausen with a frown on his face. "Stand down, Noitra." Noitra glared at one of Aizen's right-hand men. "This brat needs to be taught some respect. He's gotten too full of himself." As if it justified everything he was doing. Tausen merely raised an eyebrow. "Like you did when you attacked Neliel." Noitra stiffened at this. "Make no mistake. Aizen was not pleased with your actions. The only reason that you have not been punished is because of how difficult it is to replace Espada. Fortunately, we found someone that will likely fill in Nell's position." Noitra merely growled at this. "You will not put the boy in any more harm, nor will try to harm Naman. If you try to harm the girl, I will correct you. Now you may leave or you may give me the incentive to remind you of your position." "Fine." Noitra growled as he began walking away with Tezra close behind. The two were about to pass Tausen when someone spoke up. "I'll kill you." The Espada and his Frachian stopped as the three turned to see Naruto glaring at Noitra. "What did you say, brat?" Noitra said in a dangerous tone. Naruto's glare intensified as he growled like a wild animal. "One day I will become more powerful than anyone could possibly imagine and I will kill the Espada. And you will be the first one to die. I will humiliate you and make sure everyone sees you for the pathetic instinct that you truly are. I will make you beg for mercy, but you'll get none. Got that, you filthy insect?" Noitra was about to walk forward if not for the tip of Tausen's blade pointed right at his neck. "Noitra, leave. I will not ask a third time." Tausen warned. Noitra glared at the two before he scoffed and walked away. Tausen sighed as he sheathed his sword before looking at Naruto. "Let's go, Naruto," Tausen said as he picked the boy up and brought Naruto back into his room. As Tausen was about to leave, Naruto asked him something. "Why?" Tausen turned to see Naruto looking at the moon. Naruto then turned to Tausen. "Why do you follow Aizen?" "I follow him for he is following the path with the least amount of bloodshed. His path is the path of justice." Naruto scowled. "Forgive me for not seeing how torturing a child counts as justice. Sometimes, sacrifices are necessary for the greater good." Naruto then turned to look at Tausen. "What about Nell? Was she just a necessary sacrifice?" Naruto asked with a heated glare. "Nell's demise was an unfortunate event. However, it will not be repeated," Tausen reasoned. The two stayed in silence as Naruto asked one last thing. "Who will watch over us now?" "At the moment Ulquiorra will be watching over Naman. We will have a possible candidate for you soon." Tausen explained as he began to walk out but stopped as he was about to exit the room. "Naruto, you may not believe it, but Aizen's cause is just. He will bring order to this chaotic world. Your pain is simply a stepping stone to that goal." That was the last thing Tausen said as he left the room. Naruto sighed as he sat up on his bed as he looked up to the moon, and that's where we find him now. "I need to get the hell out of here," Naruto muttered. He wanted to go to Naman, but he had no clue where she was, even when he tried to sense for her. Plus even if he did get to her, there was no way he would have a chance against Ulquiorra. He needed to find a way out and get some help. He looked up to see the bars of his window. Maybe my claymore can do something to those bars." Naruto mused to himself as he got off his bed and walked up until he was just below the window. He then summoned his claymore as he unleashed his Ryatsu once more. The familiar feeling of the blue aura soon enveloped his body again. He jumped to the bars of his window and with a loud war cry, he slammed Lunatic into the bars. The result was instantaneous as the bars flew out and went flying out into the sandy arena. Naruto, not taking any chances, quickly ran up to the window and jumped right off. Naruto was free-falling into the sandy arena of Wako Mundo as he used his spiritual energy to create platforms to slow down his descent. Eventually, Naruto reached the sandy ground and he ran as fast as he possibly could. Little did he know was that he was being watched. On the top of the castle, Las Noches, Aizen, and Tausen watched Naruto as he ran into the barren wasteland of the Hollow's world. Aizen, is it wise to let him go like that? Tausen asked. Yes, let's allow the child to have his freedom, Aizen said with a smile as he continued to watch Naruto run into the distance. But won't this endanger our plans? Tausen asked in confusion. On the contrary, this will be an excellent way to see how far the boy will go, Aizen said as Tausen looked at him in confusion. Seeing the frown, Aizen decided to elaborate. We can only gather so much data in Wako Mundo. His abilities are unique and he could easily develop more depending on the right stimulation. I want to see what he can do on his own. Besides. Aizen said as turned away and began to walk back inside Las Noches. Wherever he goes, we'll meet again. Damn it. Naruto swore. Escaping was proving much more difficult as Naruto was soon ambushed by a small horde of hollows. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but he was far too exhausted to handle these fodder hollows now. I need to get out of here. Naruto mentally shouted as he fell to his knees. Naruto looked up to see himself surrounded by the small horde of hollows. Naruto had one last idea that could help him get out of this mess. It was long shot as it was an ability he had never tested in combat yet, but he was desperate enough to try anything. Before the hollows could jump him, Naruto was enveloped in a cocoon of darkness as he soon disappeared with the hollow attacks hitting nothing. Back in the castle of Las Noches, in a room similar to Naruto's, a young blonde-haired girl was drawing a picture of Naruto in her sketchbook before she suddenly paused. She looked out her window as she felt Naruto's presence disappear. Good luck, Naruto-kun. I hope I get to see you again, Namen said sadly. Naruto felt himself floating. The best way to describe it was similar to being in the water. He felt weightless in an endless abyss of darkness. Suddenly he felt himself slam into the cold, hard ground. Naruto groaned from the hard landing. He soon felt something pelting his body. It was raining. Great. Naruto thought as he shivered from the cold water hitting his body. Does life enjoy screwing me over? Yade? Yade. A voice said. Using the little strength he had left, Naruto looked up to see a man with an umbrella staring down at him. He was quite tall with messy pale blonde hair and gray eyes. What Naruto noticed the most was the man's green and white bucket hat and the obnoxious big smile on his face. Naruto could tell one thing though. This man was not normal. He could feel the Riryoku coming from this man. This man was a Shinigami. Naruto felt like recognized the man, but could not put his finger on it. I have an unexpected customer. The man cheerfully said with a gigantic smile. It was the last thing Naruto heard and saw before he lost consciousness again. Battle under the rain and a new family. Naruto found himself floating in the middle of an endless black abyss. He couldn't feel anything. Not his limbs or even any warmth or cold. It was just an empty void that stretched on forever without any foreseeable end. He was not scared, merely curious about where he could be. He knew he escaped Wako Mundo and landed somewhere in the human world. The pain he felt as he landed proved that. But now he wasn't sure where he was. Did he slip again using the corridor of darkness accident when he lost consciousness again? If so, how will get out now? Before he could ponder anymore, he began to hear a voice. And are you too? Naruto paused and thought. That voice sounded familiar. Naruto woke up. He could almost recognize the voice. It was of a girl. Naruto, please wake up. Naruto's eyes widened as he finally connected the voice to a name. Namen. He shouted as he began to thrash around in a frenzy, trying to find a direction to move to. Suddenly, Naruto saw a light began to peer through the darkness of the void. Naruto began moving as he tried to get closer to the light. The closer he got to the light, the louder the voice of Namen became. Naruto. The voice of Namen shouted as Naruto reached the light and was blinded by it. Namen. Was the last outcry from the blonde before everything went white. Naruto moaned as his eyes fluttered open. At first, everything was rather blurry with a strange shadow over him. Naruto blinked a few times to allow his eyes to adjust themselves. Out of everything he expected, the last thing that Naruto expected to see once he woke up was a middle-aged man looking down at him. Arg. Naruto shouted in shock as he tried to shove the man away as he leaned in closer. Those are some impressive lungs. It seems you have recovered nicely. Who the hell are you? Naruto demanded. Just where in the hell did he land? And who the hell was the pervert in his bed? Oi boss. Our guest has awakened. The man called out, which caused Naruto to pause. Who was this boss? Oh really? Excellent. The two men turned to see the door slide open. Out came the same man that Naruto saw before he lost consciousness. The two men sat across Naruto as he lifted himself up. He quickly noticed the bandages around his arms and chest. He looked up to the older blonde and his assistant. "Were you two the ones that banged me up?" The blonde took out a small fan as he waved it with a giant smile. "That's right. I couldn't let a child stay out there in the cold." Naruto deadpanned him, but mentally he was curious. This man looked so familiar, but where? He was a Shinigami based on the spiritual energy he could feel, which means he may know him from Aizen's lectures. Maybe a name could help. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "Isn't polite to give your name first?" he teased. Naruto snorted but answered. "My name is Naruto. I have no surname to my recollection. My name is Urahara Kisuke. And you are at my shop. So I must ask, what were you doing out there?" Naruto's eyes widened when he heard the name. How the hell could he not see it? This was the man that Aizen acknowledges but also desires to surpass. He was the one Shinigami that had the item that Aizen sought. The creator of the Heijyoku and the one Aizen framed for the holification of several captains and lieutenants of the Gatei 13. Why would a former Shinigami captain be running a candy shop? Naruto asked in confusion. The two men looked at another before laughing uncontrollably. "Now what would you be talking about? I am no death god. I am just a simple shopkeeper," Urahara said in a joking manner. Naruto just glared in annoyance at the facade that Urahara put up. Looks like you'll have to be blunt to get him talking. Urahara Kisuke. Former captain of Squad 12 and founder of the Research and Development Division. Also creator of the Heijyoku. An item that can break the barriers between Shinigami and Hollow. You were exiled along with the Vizards, Uruchi Shihoin, and Tessai for crimes you didn't commit. Tell me, do I sound like I don't know what I am talking about? Naruto challenged. The air soon became thick with tension as the two men and child stared at one another. The three stayed in complete silence for what seemed like hours until Urahara spoke again. Jade. What a troublesome child I seem to have taken in," he said as he waved his fan. "Tell me a bit about yourself, Naruto. As you seem to know all about us, it's only courteous you tell us about yourself. After all, we did save you." Naruto looked at the former Shinigami captain before sighing. "I don't have much to tell you. I was left on the doorsteps of the local orphanage. No clue who my biological parents are. The only things I was left with was an orange blanket with my name on it and a scarf. I learned about my ability to see spirits when I was 3. This caused Urahara's and Tessai's eyes to rise up, as it's very rare for any spiritually aware human to awaken at such an early age. I also had a friend named Naman who could also see spirits. Then a fire started that engulfed the entire orphanage. Everyone I knew was dead and the only ones alive were myself and Naman. The two of us were trapped in that raging inferno and both of us should have died as the building collapsed on top of us. But when I woke from the blackout, myself and Naman were outside in the rain. When I asked her what happened, she said she didn't know. The last thing she remembered was the building falling on us, darkness, and then we were outside." Urahara raised an eyebrow, curious at what Naruto just retold. It sounded like he awoke his latent powers and saved himself and his friend. Though it's still impressive for a human to awaken their powers without being constantly exposed to or near a powerful spiritual being like a Shinigami. That would mean those powers existed since he was born. "That still doesn't explain how you ended at our doorstep, Naruto." Urahara pressed as he was curious how Naruto ended up at his shop. Naruto sighed. "When Naman and I got bearings again, we approached by a man. He said we could be interesting test subjects. So he took us to his lair in Hueco Mundo. For 3 years, I was made into that bastard's guinea pig for his experiments. I finally had enough and busted out of my cell and ran away. But in the midst of that, I got attacked by a horde of hollows, but I was too weak to handle them. So I used an untested ability to get out of there. Next thing I know, I land in front of your shop." Naruto, who was the man that abducted you?" Urahara asked. Suddenly the two felt an incredible reiatsu being released by Naruto. Naruto glared at the two as he grinds his teeth in rage as thought about the bastard that screwed over his life. "It's a man you know all too well. He's the one who caused you, Tessai, Uruchi, and the Vizards to get exiled. Sasuke-san." Naruto spat the name as if it was venom in his mouth. Urahara and Tessai's eyes widened before they narrowed in rage as they remembered Aizen all too well. "I see." Urahara mused. "Naruto, if it's not too much, I would like you to explain what happened to you in Hueco Mundo." "Boss, I don't think," Tessai began until Naruto interrupted. "It's fine. I was planning on telling you anyways." Naruto sighed before he began retelling everything that happens to him under Aizen. The rancors, his desire to find the Heijyoku, his pseudo-Heijyoku he has created, the dissections, the mock battles with hollows, Aizen teaching him about the Kido arts and his world, and the ripping out of pieces of his soul. By the time he was done, the temperature around Kisuke and Tessai had dropped drastically as they reflexively released their reiatsu. Tessai gripped his knees as his knuckles turned white, while Kisuke was gripping his fan so hard that it was cracking under the pressure. Eventually, the two men sighed as they allowed themselves to calm down. You have my sympathy, Naruto. Tell me, what do you plan to do now? Naruto glared at the man. What do you think? I am going back to save Namen. Urahara gave him a grim look and preparing himself for the bomb that was about to go off with his next statement. I'm sorry Naruto, but I can't allow you to do that, he said in a regretful tone. Naruto snarled in rage. What the hell makes you think you can stop me? Naruto shouted before he was slammed back onto his bed by Kisuke's cane. Naruto glared to see the impassive stare of the former Gate captain. Look how easily I slammed you back into the bed. If you go back to Hueco Mundo, you'll die. That is if you even make it to Hueco Mundo. Urahara lectured. Then I will just wait till I recover. Naruto defiantly declared as Kisuke simply shook his head. That won't change anything. You said it yourself. You are on constant watch in Aizen's castle. Not to mention, Aizen probably has security and monitors watching the entire palace. You would have to figure out how to get through all that to get to your friend. Especially since you don't even know where she was kept for the 3 years you were there. Besides, even if you manage to get to Namen, do you honestly expect to fight all of his rancor and win? Naruto growled as he glared at the man pinning him down. He knew Kisuke was right, but it was still a bitter pill to swallow. That he was utterly powerless to help Namen at the moment. What do you expect me to do then, Urahara? Naruto said in a weak tone. Urahara smiled as he had already devised a plan to help Naruto. I have a proposition for you. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Why don't you stay here in my humble shop? Kisuke said as he began to wave his fan. Naruto blinked in confusion. What? Yes, I can complete your Kido training, I can get an old friend to train you in Ho-Ho and Hakuta, and I can help you train your abilities. Well, your abilities may not be Shinigami, they were formed after Zanpakuto fragments were infused with your soul, so I believe similar training methods can be used. I may be able to find out more about your abilities and see what other weapons you can unlock from them. What do you say? Naruto stared in shock at the proposal. The invitation was appealing. Under Kisuke, he'll have a nice home with people that actually care of his well-being. These people were captain class level fighters in Kisuke's case, a former captain. He was one of the few men if not the only person that could match Aizen in cunning and intelligent. But Naruto bit his lips. Could he really just stay here and leave Namen all alone in Hueco Mundo? How can I just leave Namen alone? Naruto asked softly as he looked up to see Urahara's gentle and sympathetic gaze. I am not asking you to abandon your friend, Naruto. I am asking you to become my student. I promise to teach you to the best of my abilities. I will make you powerful enough that you could face off against nearly all the captains of the Gate 13 to the point that they will need their Bankai to face you. Will I be strong? Naruto asked as Urahara smiled. Yes. Very strong. Will I be able to face Aizen and his rancor? Urahara shrugged. That will all depend on you, Naruto. The little blonde sighed. He had little options, so as he closed his eyes and took a deep breath in and then slowly exhaled. He opened his eyes to give Urahara a determined glare. I accept your offer, Urahara. Urahara gave a big smile as he began to wave his fan. Excellent. Now you rest up for the next couple of days. We'll have a sparring match so I can see your capabilities. For now rest. Naruto nodded as he adjusted to get some sleep. Kisuke left with Tessai following close behind. The former captain had to make a few calls to some old friends. A few days later. Alright Tessai, why did Urahara call us here? Asked an irate man. He looked to be in his mid to late 20s with short blonde hair and a bowl cut. He had squinty eyes with a piercing on his tongue. The most noticeable thing of his appearance was the Zanpakuto in his arm. This was Shinji Harako. The other occupant was a black cat with amber eyes. This was Yorichi Shihoin. Come down to the training arena and you'll find out. The two grumbled as they followed the assistant shopkeeper down. The first thing the two noticed was Kisuke was in the middle of the arena with a blonde kid. Who's the kid? Some stray you picked up? Shinji asked. Tessai shook his head. His name is Naruto. He'll be in our care for the foreseeable future as our student. Since when has Kisuke been interested in children? An incredulous Yorichi asked. After all, in all the time that she has known Kisuke, he was never a kid's person. Hell, he was barely a people's person. Naruto is unique. We found him at our doorstep after he escaped from Hueco Mundo. That got the attention of the two occupants. So he's a runaway spirit. Tessai shook his head. Nope. He's human. He's been spiritually aware since he was 3, but one day he and his friend were abducted by someone. Shinji and Yorichi looked at each other in confusion before looking back at Tessai. What does this have to do with us? Shinji asked. The one who kidnapped them was Aizen. A grim look passed over Shinji's and Yorichi's faces. I see. So that's what this is about. What does the kid want? Yorichi asked. Naruto wants to save his friend, but we both know that is impossible with his current power. Even if he did manage to get back to Hueco Mundo, Aizen won't be as merciful, and neither will his followers. So you plan to train the kid for what? To bust in and save his girlfriend. No offense, but what could a spiritual human capable of doing against a Shinigami, especially Aizen? Yoruichi asked. Sure, she felt for the kids, but no human regardless of their spiritual abilities could match a Shinigami. The gap is just too wide. It was a harsh truth that the boy would have to accept. But Kisuke wouldn't just agree to train the boy if he didn't see or feel something special about him. Well, considering the boy was able to reflect a zero of an Arankar. Not to mention that Aizen took interest in his abilities. I think that warrants at least some attention. That seems to get the attention of two exiles as look towards the two blondes. Well, let's see what the kid got, Shinji said as the three observed a sparring match that was about to begin. Bleach asked. What can you see in their eyes? Ready, Naruto? Urahara asked as he took a blade out of his cane. Hell yeah. Naruto exclaimed as he released his Reiatsu as he was enveloped in a black aura. Everyone felt their eyes widen at the amount of Reiatsu Naruto was releasing. Holy. That's the Reiatsu I would feel from a seated officer. How can a child have so much spiritual power at such a young age? An impressed and shocked Yoruichi asked. If I have to guess, his Reiatsu is equivalent to a 5th seat officer, correct? Shinji commented as he looked at Tessai for confirmation. That sounds about right. Now let's see what happens. Tessai replied as the three looked back to the spar. Alright then. Looks like I made fun in this fight. Kisuke asked in an amused tone. Oh, you'll have fun, Naruto warned as he disappeared in a blur. Shunpo. Everyone exclaimed mentally. Naruto suddenly appeared above Urahara's head with the ethereal blades ignited from his palms. Naruto swung his blades downward, but the former captain simply raised his cane sword and blocked the two strikes. Naruto grunted as he tried to push his blades forward, but Urahara did not budge an inch. Naruto clicked his tongue in annoyance as Urahara merely smirked in amusement. You'll have to do better than that, Naruto. Urahara teased as he pushed his sword arm forward, which sent Naruto flying back a few feet. Naruto looked up to see Urahara in front of him with his cane sword above his head. Naruto reacted quickly as he jumped back to avoid the downward slash. Naruto retracted his ethereal blades as he glared at Urahara. If a frontal attack won't work. Let's see you handle this. He roared as he fired multiple ethereal blades from the palm of his hands. Kisuke smirked as he easily dodged, blocked, and parried all of the blades that were fired at him. When he looked back to see Naruto's next move, only to see him with a new weapon. He blinked in confusion as in Naruto's hand was a black book. This made him raise an eyebrow. What could the book do? Naruto smirked as the book began to glow. Hellview, he muttered. There was a flash of light that blinded Kisuke for a second. When the light dimmed he looked to see everyone was gone. Before he could ponder what just happened, a rumbling sound caught his attention as the entire area began to shake uncontrollably. Now, what could you be planning, Naruto-chan? Suddenly the ground broke apart as lava spewed from the newly formed crater as a giant black serpent arose for the molten ground. Urahara raised an eyebrow as the monstrous creature hissed at him. An illusion. Well, I can't really say I am surprised. You were under Aizen, so it stands to reason one of your abilities will revolve around illusions. A rather effective one at that. I actually could feel the vibrations from the quake and the heat from coming from the lava. Pretty good illusion. But. Urahara rambled before releasing his Reiatsu. Suddenly the entire area began to crack as it was made out of glass. Then like glass, the area shattered with the illusion disappearing and everything back to how it originally was. Urahara quickly got his bearing as Naruto came up right in front of him with his right index and middle fingers pointing at Urahara's face. Peido number 4. Byakurai, White Lightning. Naruto shouted as an arc of lightning erupted from his fingers as it made a beeline for Urahara's face. However, Urahara was not a former captain for nothing. Using his insane reaction speed, he tilted his head to avoid the lightning attack. He looked back to see Naruto smirking at him. Bakudo number 4. Hinawa, Slithering Rope. Naruto shouted as an electric yellow rope came from his hands as they wrapped around Kisuke. Naruto raised his two palms forward and shouted, Heido number 33. Sakatsui, Blue Fire, crashed down. Naruto shouted as blue flames were released from his palm as Urahara was hit from the close-range attack. The close collision caused a large explosion to envelop the two. The spectators covered their eyes as dust and debris from the explosion passed over them. Damn, I have to admit, this kid has some skills. Shinji couldn't help but compliment. Agreed. He's also an adept user of Kido. He used 3 different Kidos one after the other. Not to mention he performed a level 30 Heido spell without an incantation is very impressive. Especially for someone so young. I dare say I have found a possible new apprentice and a future Kido master. Tessai said in an excited tone. Not to mention, he created the illusion to distract Kisuke as he knew Kisuke could easily break it. He then used that distraction to perform Byakurai. But that was also another ruse to get Kisuke wide open to be trapped in the Bakuto spell before blasting him with a Sakatsui. A rather impressive strategy for a 7-year-old to come up with. His shunpo is also pretty good for someone so young. Though it will take more than that to beat Urahara. Yoruichi complimented. As the smoke cleared, the three observers could see Naruto panting slightly as was crouched down to one knee. A few feet away from Kisuke appeared from the smoke. He looked rather amused as he looked completely unharmed except for the dirt covering his clothes. Naruto frowned at the lack of damage. He knew he should have expected as much considering who he's facing, but it was a little disheartening that he couldn't at least leave a scratch on him. Well, I must say I am impressed. You are doing better than I expected. Tell me any more surprises. Naruto sighed. He only had one last trick that could help him. He summoned his book again, and suddenly the book glowed as a dark sphere was released from the book as it flew into the ceiling of the arena. Everyone looked up to see the orb slam into the ceiling as it enveloped the entire area in darkness as a golden moon began to appear. Well, that's a lovely moon, but how will this help you? Urahara mused out loud. Suddenly, everyone felt an incredible spike in spiritual energy. They turned to see Naruto holding a large claymore as he was enveloped in a dark blue aura as the moon shined brightly. Naruto looked up as his eyes glowed a deep yellow and gained much more feral features. Urahara slight tensed as he raised his blade. Looks like I should get a little serious. Right, Naruto-chan. Urahara teased before dropping the goofy facade as he began releasing his spiritual pressure. Awaken, Beniham, Urahara said as his Zanpakuto glowed as it turned into its Shikai state. Naruto growled before disappearing again using his shunpo. Reacting quickly, Urahara raised his blade as the claymore was slammed into his blade. Naruto growled as he pushed Lunatic further into Urahara who didn't seem to be struggling at all. Is that all? He teased again with that annoying grin of his. Something that pisses Naruto off as he grew angrier with his aura reacting to his rage as it got even bigger and darker. He roared as he pushed Urahara away. The candy salesman skidded back a few feet but did not seem too concerned. He looked up to see Naruto appear right in front of him with his claymore over his head. Naruto roared as he swung downward. Kikasumi no Tate. Naruto slammed his claymore into the blood mist shield as shockwaves erupted from the collision of the two attacks. The berserker blonde growled as he released more of his Ryatsu as he pushed Lunatic further. Urahara was actually impressed to see cracks appear on Beniham's shield. He couldn't help but smile. Not bad kid. You'll go far, but you still have a long way to go. Urahara thought as he shouted. Nake, Beniham. A crimson blade of energy erupted from the Zanpakuto as Naruto was forced to cease his attack and use the claymore as a makeshift shield. The blonde attempted to push the attack back, but it was just too strong as he was sent skidding back. Naruto roared as he finally deflected the attack away from him. The moon suddenly disappeared along with Naruto's aura as he fell to his hands and knees panting in exhaustion. That attack was even stronger than what the Zero that bastard Naruto blasted him with. Naruto then felt cold steel at his neck. He looked up to see Urahara in front of him with the tip of Beniham ready to pierce his flesh. Yield, Urahara commanded in a cold tone. Naruto glared defiantly but knew this was his loss. I yield. Naruto relented after a tense minute. Urahara retracted his blade as went back into its sealed state. So. How was that? Naruto asked. Urahara stared at Naruto for a good few seconds before. That was rather impressive. Kisuke happily exclaimed as he suddenly took out his fan and waved it enthusiastically. Naruto blinked. Huh? He asked in a confused tone. I hate to admit this, but Aizen trained you well. You have pretty good speed and reaction time for someone your age. You also have a good head on your shoulders when it comes to strategy. Chaining those attacks and Kido spells to catch me off guard is a pretty good strategy. Plus it seems you have a good grasp of your spiritual energy. Urahara explained in his usual happy tone. Though you have some shortcomings. Your Zanjutsu still needs some work, your Hakuto looks to be non-existent, your Shunpo still needs a lot of work before it can surprise captains, and that rage mode while useful is rather ineffective in prolonging fights. I recommend saving it for a last resort if you ever plan to use it. Naruto nodded. Urahara then turned to their approaching spectators. Well, what do you guys think? Shinji clicked his tongue in annoyance. You basically said everything we were all thinking. So I have nothing to add. I believe I have found someone I can pass my teachings to. Not since Hachi have I seen someone with such potential in Kido. Tessai said. Now you mention it, Hachi probably wouldn't mind teaching his barrier Kido to the kid. The rest of us can take turns working on his combat experience. Who knows, if we put him in enough dangerous situations in our spars, we can unlock more weapons and abilities. Naruto looked slightly concerned at what Shinji was implying by dangerous situations. I'm sure I can do something with his Hakuta and Shunpo. Who knows, maybe I'll have someone to pass my title on to as well. Yuruchi teased. Naruto looked at the talking cat weirdly. "Who's the talking cat?" Naruto asked. The black cat chuckled for a few seconds. "Oh, my apologies. I haven't introduced myself. I am Yuruchi," she replied. Naruto felt his eyes widen in surprise. "Wait, you're Yuruchi?" he asked in a confused tone. Yuruchi blinked a few times at Naruto's reaction. "Wow, that was a lackluster response. Aren't you surprised to see a talking cat?" she sarcastically asked. Naruto merely shrugged. "I have lived in Hueco for years. I have seen weirder shit." Yuruchi jumped and scratched Naruto across the nose with her claws. "Ah!" Naruto cried in pain as he clutched his nose. Yuruchi merely blew on her nails in boredom. Naruto glared at the black feline. "What the fuck was that for?" Naruto screamed before Yuruchi scratched him again. "Ah! Language. Looks like your manners is something else Tesai and I will have to work on," Yuruchi lectured. Naruto growled but kept his mouth shut before he said something else. The others just looked at the interaction in amusement. "Can you explain why you can turn to a cat at least?" Naruto asked in a confused tone. "It's a special ability that my family gained a long time ago. Maybe I'll tell you later on." Yuruchi then got a mischievous glint in her eyes that all the other men recognized. "But I guess I can show you my true self." Steam and smoke covered the area as the black cat was enveloped in the steam as it's morphed and changed into a much more humanoid shape. When the steam cleared, standing before Naruto was a beautiful and busty woman with ebony skin tone and violet-colored hair that went down her back. There was also an important part that she was completely naked. Naruto blushed to atomic levels of red. Yuruchi giggled in amusement. "Wow, what a cute reaction. Do you like what you see, Naruto-kun?" she teased. Naruto did the only thing he could do at the moment. He fainted. Everyone blinked a few times before they all chuckled in amusement. Things were going to get very interesting for the young blonde-haired boy. 2 years later. Naruto sighed as placed his finished ramen cup after watching something interesting on TV. For some reason, he always felt a sense of fulfillment from eating a cup of ramen. Though he had a very healthy diet thanks to his strict guardians that stopped him from eating too much ramen, but enjoying it in short increments. "Hey Urahara, I am going out for a bit," Naruto called out to his guardian and mentor. "It's pouring out there," Urahara called back. Naruto rolled his eyes as he approached the door. "Relax, I'll wear one of your coats. That'll keep me warm and away from any unusual sensors. I just need to get some fresh air," Naruto replied as he took one of Urahara's special coats and puts it on. As Naruto opens the door, he hears Urahara call out again. "Alright, just be careful, and if you get into any trouble just release your spiritual energy and I'll come to rescue my cute godson." Naruto felt several veins pop on his head. "I am not cute nor am I helpless, godfather," he retorted back. Naruto's eyebrow twitches as he hears Urahara's laughter. "Of course, but what kind of parental figure would I be if I did not worry?" he questioned. Naruto snorted. "Fine. Whatever. Have a safe trip." Urahara called out one last time as Naruto closed the door. Naruto sighed in annoyance as he jumped into the pouring rain. The young blonde enjoyed these nights out as they helped him clear his mind. It was hard to believe that 2 years have gone by since he first landed in front of Urahara's candy shop, but time just seems to fly by. Thinking about these 2 years brought a smile to face. They were the best years of his young life prior to the fire in the orphanage. While he still missed Namen, his new family did their best to mend the wounds, even if some of them sucked at being emotional support. SI was a patient but diligent teacher when teaching Naruto Kido. He always stressed to be quick but precise when performing them, as one misstep could end in disaster. Tesai also stressed having constant control of his spiritual energy. Having control allows him to know how much spiritual power to give a spell and not to waste a single ounce, as it could mean the difference between life and death. Urahara was similar in his teaching methods but was much more jovial in attitude. Urahara continued the studies that Aizen had begun in Hueco Mundo. The older blonde focused on refining everything Naruto learned from the rogue Shinigami and testing the young blonde to ensure that Naruto understood and remembered everything he was taught. He even taught Naruto about the Heijyoku and why he created it in the first place. Although there was one oddity in the lessons. The Quincy. Aizen did mention the Quincy in his lessons. Their abilities, history, and destruction by the Shinigami. But when Naruto asked about how the Quincy came to be, Aizen explained that records of such time were non-existent. This surprised Naruto as Aizen usually knew everything, but Aizen remained his usual amused stoic self when he explained that such information was meaningless to him for now. This always left Naruto confused, and when he asked Urahara about this, he hoped the older blonde could clear this confusion, but Urahara just jovially said even he did not know everything. But Naruto knew there was something off with his answer but shrugged it off for now. Then there was Yuruchi. Naruto shuddered as he remembered his training with his self-proclaimed godmother. As the former commander of Squad 2 and Stealth Corporation, Yuruchi did not pull any punches in her training. When she said she found a potential heir successor, she actually meant it and trained Naruto to one day surpass her and take her title of Flash Goddess. Yuruchi trained Naruto to be a high-tier member of the Onmitsukido and beyond. She taught him about their philosophy and their minds. To strike when the opportunity arises and to do so quickly and without remorse. To stay in the shadows waiting for your enemy to slip and to travel without making a single noise. She trained Naruto to be an assassin that would be unrivaled. Surprisingly, Naruto took the training as a fish does to water. It was almost like he was born to be an assassin. The Vizards were an interesting bunch. They were all like his aunts and uncles. All of them usually focused on combat training to expand Naruto's current weapons and abilities, while also seeing if they could unlock more abilities. The ones that took the majority of this part of his training were most of the Vizards, except for Lisa and Hachi. The latter focusing on his training in barrier Kido and the former attempting to corrupt the young blonde. Naruto shook the blush that appeared as he remembered some of the adult magazines he was shown by Lisa. Thankfully, Kensei was there to pull away from any unnecessary influence. Overall, he can say that he has enjoyed these 2 years. His power has increased exponentially, as now he could probably take on most of the lower-ranking lieutenants of the Gate 13 and maybe a captain. He even unlocked 4 other weapons. Naruto idly wondered how many more weapons abilities will he be able to awaken and what will they grant him. To this day, Urahara still has not been able to understand how to categorize his powers. He explained the closet powers they matched were Shinigami, and that was due to how Aizen implanted the Zanpakuto shards that were embedded with pieces of his soul and their ability to purify hollows. While the method was much more brutal, it was similar to how Shinigami imbue their power into their Asauchi to become their true Zanpakuto. So far, Urahara was not sure what other abilities Naruto will unlock, but he did know Naruto will only get more powerful from this. He would probably be the most unpredictable spiritual being that has ever lived. Naruto was not sure whether to take that as a compliment or insult, as Urahara gave that happy grin as he flapped his fan when he said that. Naruto was cut from using down memory lane when he heard someone. He paused on top of a pole as looked at the scene below him. A young boy that looked to be the same age as Naruto with the spiky orange hair was running down a hill. He could see a woman with similar color hair, presumably the boy's mother, calling after the boy. However, what worried Naruto was what the boy was going to. The young boy believes he's stopping a young girl from committing suicide. However, what the boy did not see is that the girl was an illusion. It was nothing more than the lore of a hollow. This was not just any hollow. This was Grand Fisher. An infamous hollow that had escaped Shinigami for over 40 years. Shit, that kid can see spiritual beings, but probably can't tell the difference yet, Naruto said in frustrations as he leaped forward. Ichigo, come back here. Misaki cried as she ran after her son. Just wait, mom. Ichigo cried back as he kept running to the girl that was standing at the edge of the river. I need to save her, he muttered in a serious tone. Wait. Don't do it. Misaki cried to no avail as Ichigo reached the girl. However, the young child was surprised when he approached the girl only for his hand to go right through her. Huh? He asked in confusion as he suddenly heard a dark and malicious chuckle close to him. Bleach asked. Invasion. Foolish boy. A dark voice lured that caused a chill to go down Ichigo's spine. You'll be a tasty treat before the main course. Ichigo slowly turns to see the dark silhouette of Grand Fisher looking down at him with a large and malicious grin as he raised his right claw. Ichigo continued to look in fear until he heard his mother scream. Ichigo. That was the last thing the young boy heard before everything became a blur before losing consciousness. Misaki looked over her son before finally sighing in relief. Good. He's okay, she said with a smile. However, the sickening growls of Grand Fisher caused her to scowl as she turned to glare at him. You'll regret that, hollow, she warned in a venomous tone. Grand Fisher chuckled at his amusing food. Oh really? And why is that? Misaki continued to glare as she fully turned to face Grand Fisher. Because I will kill you, she said in a resolute tone. Grand Fisher blinks a few times before laughing uncontrollably. Ahahaha. Do you know how many Shinigami have said that and have been killed by me? What makes you different? Grand Fisher mocked. Well, for one, she has backup. Shouted a voice as 6 lances impaled Grand Fisher's palms, ankles, and back. Arg. Grand Fisher screeched in pain. Misaki watched in stunned silence as the infamous hollow tried to maneuver out of his entrapment with no avail. Suddenly both noticed Naruto's appearance as he pulled his hood down to reveal his face. A child. Both screamed in shock. Who are you? Misaki asked, but Naruto kept his eyes on Grand Fisher as his lances, Lindworm, kept him in place. That doesn't matter right now. Get away now. Take your kid and run as far as you can. Naruto replied. I appreciate the help, but I can't leave you alone to fight that thing. Misaki screamed. Did the boy not understand how dangerous that hollows can be? Especially one as infamous as Grand Fisher. Relax, I can handle this. A normal human can't do anything. Naruto retorted. Misaki felt the need to snort in amusement. That is where you are wrong. I am not a normal human. I can fight. This got Naruto to turn slightly to Misaki with a raised eyebrow. Oh yeah, how? Misaki merely smiled as she raised her right arm as a silver bracelet came out with a unique cross symbol. Suddenly Reishi began collecting around the bracelet as it formed a bow out of spiritual energy. Naruto fully turned to her with wide eyes. A Quincy? He said in shock. That shouldn't be possible. The only family of Quincy should be the Ishida. Urahara told him. Naruto's widened before narrowing as he realized that Urahara was indeed hiding something from him. Oh, Godfather, you and I are gonna have a long talk after this. Suddenly a beam of light fell from the heavens enveloped Misaki. What the hell? Naruto screamed in shock and worry as he felt Misaki's spiritual energy drain from her body. When the light disappeared, Naruto quickly rushed to Misaki's side. Hey lady, what's going on? The Oswallan light. My bastard of a king has made his selections for his army. Oswallan? King? What king? What army? Naruto tried to question, but Misaki had already lost consciousness. Naruto grew worried as her pulse became weak. Shit, she won't make it if I don't take her back to Urahara, Naruto muttered. He quickly grabbed Ichigo and put him along with Misaki on his back. He was about to leave when he heard a monstrous growl. He turned to see Grand Fisher freed from the 6 lances, glaring down at him hatefully. Where you think you're going? None of you are escaping alive. Naruto blinked a few times. Well shit. This is embarrassing. I almost forgot about you. Grand Fisher roared as he was about to strike Naruto when a dark figure delivered a fierce right hook that sent him skidding a few feet. The hollow turned and was shocked to see a dark shape with yellow eyes and a heart-shaped hole on its chest. What in the world are you? Guardian. Get them to Urahara, now. Naruto commanded. The now-named Guardian nodded as it flew towards Naruto and grabbed the two and were beginning to disappear in a column of darkness. I will not let you take my prey, Arg. Grand Fisher started before it shouted in pain as 2 lances flew down and cut deeply into his shoulders. Fisher growled in pain as he glared at Naruto. It opened its maw as Reishi collected inside as it formed a red sphere. Naruto's eyes narrowed as the lances disappeared as his hand sparked with blue electricity. Die brat. It roared as it fired its zero towards Naruto. The young blonde raised his hands as a screen wall appeared in front of him as it once more blocked the zero. However, unlike before, he could hold the zero off without being pushed off. Naruto pushed forward as the zero was sent right back in several different beams. Grand Fisher's eyes widened as he was bombarded with his own zero in a crimson explosion. Naruto gazed at the smoke cloud as he waited for Grand Fisher to appear. He knew it would take more than that to kill him. Suddenly Naruto heard some cracking noise. He quickly jumps as several orange spikes suddenly rose from the ground. One of them managed to nip Naruto's cheek. He looked that out of the smoke was an angry-looking Grand Fisher with blood flowing down its damaged left eye and several burns around its body. Naruto quickly summoned his next weapon. Water began drawing into his palms as he brought them together, and in a flash, one of his new weapons appeared. It was in the shape of a sitar in varying shades of blue. This was Arpeggio, one of the weapons that Naruto unlocked in the last 2 years. Naruto began to play a fast-paced tune. He will always be thankful to Rose for teaching him how to play his weapon. Dance, water. Dance. Naruto shouted as the water around him began itself to condense into various musical notes. The notes lunged towards a stunned Grand Fisher, who growled at these childish games. Grand Fisher easily ripped through the water constructs with ease as he turned to Naruto, but surprised to see he was gone. He believed that Naruto was gone, but shouted in pain as he felt several sharp objects pierce his back. He looked to his back to see several yellow knives embedded into him. Hey, ugly. Grand Fisher looked up to see Naruto up in the air with the same knives on his back in between the boy's fingers. Naruto gave him a smirk as electricity danced around the knives. Founder. Grand Fisher's eyes widened. Hope you enjoy this. Thunder. Naruto shouted as electricity crackled on the knives as a lightning bolt descended from the heavens and struck the hollow. Grand Fisher shrieked in pain as its entire body was electrified. Naruto smirked in satisfaction as the smoking body of Grand Fisher fell to the ground. Naruto used a shunpo to appear just a few feet away from Grand Fisher. He dismissed his knives as he summoned the ethereal blades to settle this. However, he was surprised to see Grand Fisher get back on his feet. Naruto narrowed his eyes in anticipation. He knew it would take more to take Grand Fisher down. There was a reason why he was so infamous to souls and Shinigami. Naruto was about to strike again when the doll he used to fool Ichigo appears in front of him. Naruto scoffed and kept going as Grand Fisher covered the doll's head with his enlarged hands. Naruto was about to strike but froze when Grand Fisher released his grip on the doll's head. However, it was not the same face from before. The doll's face was now of someone Naruto had not seen in years. The same pale blonde hair and deep blue eyes that matched his own. "Naruto," she said softly. Naruto deactivated his blades. He stared in shock. "And Namen." Squelch. Naruto coughed out blood as he looked down to see Grand Fisher's fingers stabbing through his right shoulder, his left leg, his left collarbone, and twice on the right side of his gut. "Ha ha ha ha. You're absolutely pathetic. You all fall for the same trick. All I have to do is show you the face of a loved one and you all immediately crack. It's unbelievable." Grand Fisher mocked as he looked at the Namen's looks. I wonder if I can find this girl after I finish devouring you. I bet she will be a delightful dish." Grand Fisher said in a dark, delighted tone. Bleach Ost. Fade to black B13A. Suddenly it felt something grab his right arm as he was bombarded with an incredibly potent spiritual pressure. He looked down to see Naruto have a gigantic black aura as the boy was looking down at the ground. "Do you hear this monster's boasts? He plans to kill you. To rip you into pieces. Will you allow it to happen?" a voice said. "Never," Naruto replied back. "Would you stand for his mockery of Namen's memory? What about his claims to eat her as well?" Naruto looked up and Grand Fisher was surprised to see changes in the boy's appearance. His hair was a bit wilder and his whiskers had become more pronounced and feral. His teeth had elongated into fangs. However, it was the eyes that were the most surprising. The sclera was now completely black and his pupils were golden yellow with black pupils. "He won't get away with this," Naruto muttered as he gripped Grand Fisher's arms even tighter. The Hollow was surprised to see the boy actually pull his arms out of him. Just how powerful was this brat? However, his shock only grew as the wounds began to slowly heal and close. "What the hell? High-speed regeneration. Just what are you, boy?" Grand Fisher shouted in shock. Naruto glared intensified as his spiritual pressure increased even more. "I'm gonna kill you. Do you want the power to finish him? Give it to me or go away. I have 7 other weapons that can do the job. Settle down, boy. No need to be so demanding. Now channel the darkness and show this abomination our power," the voice said in amusement. Naruto rose his right arm as the palm began to glow an eerie violet and black. Grand Fisher tried to attack Naruto, but Naruto swiped his right arm as a flash covered the two. When the flash cleared, Grand Fisher screeched in pain as he looked at the stump that was once his limb. He glared to see the new weapon in the boy's arm. The weapon was in the shape of some blade. It had a black handle with a spiral design. The pommel and guard resembled some kind of black demonic wings. The base between the handle and the blade were in the shape of a goat. At the top of the blade was Blue Jewel with a slitted eye gazing at him. It was rather unnerving. However, the oddest thing was that the blade resembled a giant key. Naruto gave a brief glance to his new weapon before looking at Grand Fisher. "No name. Now show him your strength." Naruto immediate struck as he cut off Grand Fisher's other arm. The Hollow screeched in pain. Naruto quickly jumped forward and grabbed the doll's face as he glared at her impassive smile. With one swift cut, he destroyed the doll's head and cut the cord connecting it to Grand Fisher. "Erg. You bastard child." Grand Fisher screeched in anger and pain. Naruto suddenly appeared in front of Grand Fisher as he reared his left fist and swung as he broke right through its teeth and grabbed onto his disgusting, slimy tongue. Naruto then began to pull as Grand Fisher was flailing all over the place. Naruto smirked darkly as he began to see blood pool and a ripping sound could be heard. "You won't ever hurt anyone again," Naruto said in a low tone as he ripped the tongue out. Grand Fisher vomited gallons of blood as it screamed in agony. Naruto continued to look at the monster with contempt. This monster had killed hundreds of people for nearly 50 years. Many were women and children. It made Naruto want to puke. It was time to end this abomination's existence. Naruto got on top of Grand Fisher's mouth and opened it wide. Mercy," it begged, but Naruto was having none of that as he raised his other arm with no heart into its mouth as Reishi began to emit from the blade. "There's no mercy here. And I would never give it to trash like you." "Blade beam." Naruto roared. The blade attack did its job as it ripped off the left side of Grand Fisher's body from the inside out. Several other chunks were sent in several other directions. Naruto let go of the remaining half of Grand Fisher's half as it fell with a loud, squishy thud. Naruto continued to look blankly at the still twitchy remains as the smaller pieces were slowly disintegrating into nothingness. End of theme. Naruto felt a sudden chill go down as the area around him began to grow dark. He saw his breath become visible from the drop in temperature. What he began to say as a large pair of doors appeared before him. They were bright red with bright flame designs adorning the doors. There were 2 skeletons on each side and in the center with black columns with gold accents connecting the columns on each side. Naruto looked at the doors in shock as he muttered in a quiet tone. "The gates of hell." He remembered both Aizen and Urahara mentioning them in their lectures. But learning and experiencing them are 2 very different things. Suddenly a large creak was made as the doors slightly opened. Suddenly a large blade came rushing out of the opening as it pierced the remains of Grand Fisher. Naruto watched in morbid fascination as the sword retracted back into the gate with remains of the hollow still on it. The gate soon closed again, and the gate shuddered for a few seconds before shattering into pieces. Everything soon became normal as the rain began pouring on the little blonde once again. Naruto also could not hear the voice from before anymore. He sighed as he dismissed his new weapon before putting his hands together for a prayer. May the souls eaten by Grand Fisher finally find peace. Naruto then summoned a dark corridor as he walked in to return to Urahara's shop. Little did Naruto know was that his battle was being watched by several individuals. Individuals that will affect his life in the coming future. Unknown location. There is a strength to him. An elderly gruff voice said as he rewatched Naruto's fight with Grand Fisher. He's still a brat. Look how easily he fell to that trap. A complete loser. A harsh feminine voice stated as she twirled powder in her hands. Aw come on. Cut him slack. He was blindsided by that. Plus he didn't let it get to him for long. He pulled off the win and that's what matters, right? A laid-back voice reasoned as he played a light tune on Argepio. He still wasted my guardian in sending those two away and never calling him back. A gruff voice said as he crossed his arms as he looked at the screen in annoyance. At least he called you out. Mumbled a voice with the silver book in his hands. Oh lighten up. I'm sure he'll call you next time. The laid-back voice said. He still let his guard down and let himself get injured with a simple trick. He still needs to be disciplined. Now he has more people that will make him vulnerable. A stoic cold voice stated. All your points are valid. However, we must not be so concerned as of late. The boy is young. Let us allow him to grow on his own. Let us see how far he goes. A deep voice boomed as the others stayed quiet. Is it wise? We could make ourselves known to him and train him to become what he must be. A warrior with an unbreakable will with blood as hard as iron, bones as sturdy as steel, and a body of metal. This recent battle shows that he is still mentally and emotionally vulnerable. Something our enemies will take advantage of. A mild gruff voice stated with all 6 lindworms dancing around him. Patience. We have waited for 5 years. We can wait a few more years. We have all the time in the world. And when that time comes, the boy will know of our existence. It's inevitable. The elderly voice spoke again as he looked at the screen of Naruto destroying Grand Fisher. As you wish, master. The other voices spoke. Urahara's shop a few hours later. Smack. Ow. Naruto howled in pain as held his head where a large lump was forming on top of it. He looked up to glare at the angry scowl of Uruchi. You idiot. What were you thinking of taking on Grand Fisher alone? Do you know how infamous he is for the number of souls he's devoured? I had no choice. I couldn't let those two die. It wouldn't be right. You taught me better. Urahara better. To leave them would be spitting on everything you all taught me. I would be no different than Aizen. Not to mention I have handled far worse than that bastard. Uruchi glared for several more minutes before sighing and taking a sip of sake she had near her. Oh Kami, where did you get this stubbornness from? She asked herself in a tired tone. Naruto just gave his godmother a slight smirk. You, Urahara, most of the vizards, and I have always been like this. Uruchi suddenly glumped Naruto in a tight hug. I am just glad you're okay. Naruto gave an annoyed sigh, but nonetheless smiled as he returned the hug. Thanks, godmother. The two stayed in the hug for a few minutes before separating. How are those two? Naruto asked in concern. He was worried how Misaki was hit by that pillar of light and lost most of her power. Then there was the kid, Ichigo. Uruchi giggled at Naruto's concern. He sounded and looked so adorable. Why don't you come and look for yourself? The two stood and walked into one of the private rooms of the store used to treat the injured. They opened the door to see Misaki seating and talking with Urahara and a man that Naruto believes to be her husband. Hello. Uruchi cheerfully exclaimed. Everyone turned to see the new pair in the room. The moment Misaki saw Naruto, she dashed towards him and enveloped him in a tight hug. Thank Kami you're okay. I was worried sick. She cried happily. Naruto could not respond as his face turned into different shades of blue as he desperately tried to breathe or escape the woman's monstrous hug. Misaki, you should let him go or else you'll suffocate him. The other man said in a joking manner. Misaki looked down to see Naruto's death-like state. Ah. Gomen, Naruto-kun. Misaki cried comically as she shook the child in her arms. Naruto eventually got his bearings as he looked at the woman. Of all the ways to nearly die, suffocation from hugs was definitely not on his list. It's okay. Naruto finally answered. Naruto turned to the other man. Your Naruto began before the man began to chuckle in embarrassment. Sorry. My name is Isen Kurosaki. I want to thank you for saving my wife and son, Ichigo. Isen. Why does that name seem familiar? Naruto thought as he heard the name before. Suddenly his eyes widened as he recalled that Aizen had mentioned him before. You're Isen Shiba, aren't you? Naruto asked out loud. He briefly saw everyone stiffen before relaxing just as fast. Isin just gave a boisterous laugh. I don't know what you're talking about, Isin began before Naruto interrupted. Look, you're a terrible liar. I know your wife saw the hollow. She also tried to form a bow, which makes her a Quincy. Speaking of which. Naruto shouted as he reared his head as he glared at his godfather, who looked slightly nervous. You mind telling me why the Kurosaki family were never mentioned in your Quincy lectures on the remaining Quincy family lines? Naruto asked in a dark tone. Urahara nervously laughed at his godson's glare. Now, Naruto. You know that would be an invasion of privacy and they wanted to remain secretive from everyone. So I had to respect their wishes. Urahara explained. Naruto sighed as that explanation makes some sense, but something was still off. He turned at Misaki with his next question. What is the Oswallan light? He asked. Once more everyone stiffens. What? Isin and Misaki asked as they hoped playing dumb would placate the boy. They were terribly wrong as everyone felt Naruto's Ryatsu began to be released as he was enveloped in a black aura. Don't play dumb with me. I am not that gullible. Naruto roared as Guardian appeared above him, with the entire building shaking and cracks appearing below Naruto. Misaki and Isin were completely shocked at Naruto's Ryatsu. Urahara quickly jumped in front of Naruto as he began waving his hands as Uruchi hugged Naruto from behind. Whoa. Calm down, Naruto. No need to get upset. Kisuke assured as he tried to calm his godson's anger. Both knew how Naruto hated to be tried like a naive child. Naruto continued to glare at everyone for a few minutes. Everyone sighed in relief as Naruto relaxed as his Ryatsu disappeared along with Guardian. He looked at Urahara with a serious gaze. Misaki said that her bastard king has made his selections for his army. What did she mean? Everyone sighed. Oh boy, Isin said in exasperation. Misaki blushed in embarrassment as everyone looked towards her. All she could do was laugh nervously as she scratched the back of her head. Sorry. She meekly said. Everyone shook their head as they did not blame her. Hell, the only reason she was alive was thanks to Naruto being there at the right place at the right time. He at least deserved to know as he would not stop trying to find the answer on his own. Urahara turned to Naruto. Okay, this what I know, Naruto. Thus Urahara began to explain most of the important details he left out about the Quincy. All Quincy lines come from a single individual. This individual was Uwich. Over 1,000 years ago a war erupted between Uwich and his army against the first incarnation of the Gate 13, with Genryusai Shijikuni Yamamoto leading them. At the climax, Yamamoto released his Bankai and supposedly killed him. However, Uwich managed to hide and went into a long sleep to recuperate his powers. As the years went on, a poem was passed through the Quincy. The poem referred to him as the Sealed King and went as follows. After 900 years of being sealed, he would regain his pulse. After another 90, he would regain his intellect. And after 9 more years, he would absorb the power of every impure Quincy to make their abilities his own. The last line describes the Oswallan light. It's Uwich making his selection of who he sees as true Quincy and would serve in his army. Those that he sees as unworthy or impure are known as gemished, have their power stripped as he absorbs them to further his power returning and his inevitable resurrection. The Quincy who have their powers taken are left vulnerable and can die if left alone or in Misaki's case, attacked by a hollow. The ones that survive are who he considers as worthy and pure. That is what happened to Misaki. She will be able to get some of her powers back in time, but they will not be as powerful. Urahara explained he has been working to help speed up her powers return, but that will still take time. By the end of the explaining, Naruto sighed in exasperation as he dragged his hands over his face. Just great, another psycho to worry about, Naruto muttered before he suddenly had an epiphany. Wait, wouldn't that make Ichigo a Shinigami Quincy hybrid? Naruto noticed how everyone was shifting uneasily. Not exactly. It's a lot more complicated. Misaki said as she and Isin take turns explaining how they and eventually got together and had Ichigo. Naruto was gaping for a few seconds before finding his voice again. So Ichigo has the potential to have the powers of a Shinigami, Hollow, and Quincy. Everyone nodded. Not only that but also combine them to create an even greater power that has never been seen before. Naruto asked. Well, technically, I am not sure if he would have access to his Quincy heritage, but he did then yes he would be, Misaki explained as Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose. This day was bringing out more and more surprises. Naruto looked up to Misaki. Then why doesn't he know the difference between living people and dead souls? As that had been bothering Naruto. If his parents knew about spirits, then why couldn't Ichigo tell the difference between the living and deceased spirits? We haven't kept track of him becoming spiritually aware. It's only now that we see how well he can see them. Misaki explained as Naruto nodded as that made sense. So how we'll train him? Naruto asked in a curious tone as he wondered how they planned to train the boy and how they would take into consideration how his powers would develop. Misaki and Isin blinked in confusion. Huh? They asked. Naruto frowned. You heard me. He has unrivaled potential compared to any other Shinigami in existence, how do you plan to train him? Misaki and Isin looked straight at Naruto. That's just it. We don't want him to train. Isin firmly said. Everyone felt the temperature of the room drop. Excuse me? He asked quietly, I think I may have misheard you. I thought you just said you don't want him to train. Naruto said as he looked at the two. You heard right, Misaki replied. Once more Naruto released his Ryatsu as his black once more covered him, but this time the guardian did not come out. What the fuck you mean you won't train him? Naruto roared. Kisu quickly grabbed Naruto's shoulder. Easy Naruto, Kisu emphasized as he tried to get his godson to relax. Naruto breathed slowly as he glared at the two Kurosaki. Explain, he demanded. Misaki and Isin gulped slightly at Naruto's glare before Isin spoke up. This battle is between the Shinigami and Aizen and his hollows and later Iwich and his army. It's a battle that shouldn't children. Both parents got nervous as they saw Naruto growl at them, but thankfully Urahara and Yaruchi were calming him down. Isin. That excuse went out the window when you decided to knock up Misaki. The hollow you saved her from went to your son. He's basically Aizen's long-term experiment in creating a super soldier. Do you think he would let that go? I wouldn't be surprised if he had something to do with Grand Fisher making an appearance. Naruto argued as it was odd to see Grand Fisher at such a far-off location from where he usually hunts. Let's not forget the Gate 13 and Central 46. Look what they were going to the Visored, Tessai, and Urahara. What do you think they will do when they find out about his existence? Naruto asked as Isin narrowed his eyes at him. That's why he needs to stay in hiding and live a normal life, Isin argued. Naruto scoffed. You act as if you would be able to control everything Ichigo will do. One day he will come in contact with another hollow or maybe a Shinigami, or maybe fails to save someone, and that will drive him to get stronger. If you trying to control how his life goes, that's not parenting. And that makes both of you no different than what Aizen did to me. Naruto accused. Suddenly felt himself be hoisted up by an enraged Isin. How dare you? We nothing like that man. Isin growled at Naruto's face who was unaffected by Isin's intimidation act. Isin put him down this instant. Misaki screamed as Isin's eyes widened as he realized what he was doing. He quickly let Naruto offered an apology. Naruto sighed and said he deserved it for taking it too far. Isin couldn't help but flinch at the glares Urahara and Yaruchi were giving him. I tread carefully about trying that again, Yaruchi warned. There's one more thing Isin, Misaki. Naruto began again. You said it which was rising again. That he's a fascist leader and only wants the pure Quincy to live on. He probably sees Ichigo as an abomination. But he was not hit by the Oswallan light. Why? Naruto asked as no one could answer as they had no idea either. Naruto answered. It's because he sees a potential pawn to use. Let's not forget about your two daughters that are also hybrids. Do you think he'll let them go? No. He'll use them and if they won't submit to him, he'll kill them as well. Need I remind you Misaki, the only reason you survived the purge is because I managed to save you before you lost a chunk of your flesh to Grand Fisher. Misaki and Isin flinched as they knew Naruto was right, despite them wishing it was not. Aizen would let Ichigo go so easily, and neither would Iwich. Urahara and Yaruchi had suspected Iwich may try to use the three children as his pawns. Hell, he could see Iwich using the girls to get Ichigo to obey his commands. Misaki spoke up this time. You're right. But we don't want him to get involved in this. It's our job as parents to keep him from those dangers. When he's ready, we will tell him everything so that he can understand. Please understand that all a parent wants to do is keep their children safe. So that is what we will do until we can't. Misaki said though she did not sound as convinced as before. Naruto glared before scoffing. Well isn't Ichigo lucky? Unfortunately, I have never had parents so I don't understand. My only guardians died in a fire before I was abducted by Aizen and made into his lab rat. Naruto replied in a bitter and envious tone. Misaki and Isin flinched for opening up some old wounds in the young boy. Sorry, they said in unison. Naruto shook his head. Forget it. I am used to it. Besides, I now have those two sadists for godparents now. Urahara and Yaruchi ruffled his hair, causing him to groan slightly as they chuckled in amusement. Misaki felt her heart go out for the boy. Naruto had never known what it meant to have a loving family waiting for you. Aizen had nearly stripped this boy of all his innocence for his own agenda. Urahara and Yaruchi can only do so much to help heal the scars. Naruto needs something more in his life. She wanted to help him in some way, especially after he risked his life to save her. If only she could suddenly a light bulb went off in her head as she now had a brilliant idea to implement. I have made up my mind. Mask Eye declared as she slowly got up to her feet. Isin held onto her as she walked her way towards Naruto. I will compromise with you, Naruto. Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion. How? We will teach the basics of sensing, Hakuta and Zanjutsu to Ichigo. Everyone looked at Misaki in confusion. How would you do that? Naruto asked as they wanted to keep away from all this. How would he teach him all this while keeping him in the dark? Well, Ichigo is in a karate class. I'm sure Yoruichi could enroll as a teacher and help teach him and everyone else the basics of the form, and this would help us keep track of any other spiritual aware humans. We also can add meditation classes to help keep himself in control and start the foundation for sensing and using his Ryatsu. Misaki then turned to the flash goddess. If you don't mind, Yoruichi. She asked in a slightly embarrassed tone as this would depend on her agreeing to it. Yoruichi hummed as she scratched her chin before shrugging, sure, why not? At least that will keep busy for these upcoming years besides privately training Naruto. Everyone sweat drops at her response. So easygoing. Everyone thought. Naruto shook his head as looks at Misaki. What do I get out of this? Misaki gave a cheeky smile as she raised 2 fingers. 1. You'll be able to keep an eye on Ichigo and anyone else that may be spiritually aware. Naruto continued to stare at Misaki. Okay, he drawled out slowly. And the second thing I get out of this? Misaki responded by giving him a big smile. Well, you become part of our family, of course. She cheerfully exclaimed. Huh? A stunned Naruto asked as he voiced everyone else's thoughts. It's simple, Misaki said with a wide smile. We adopt you and you can keep an eye on Ichigo until he develops as a Shinigami and we can decide when to tell him everything. Naruto looked utterly stunned while Isen was actually nodding in agreement. He turned to see what Urahara and Yoruichi were also looking very interested in the idea. He turned back to Misaki in confusion. Why would you want to adopt me? Naruto couldn't help but ask. Why was Misaki so adamant about this? Misaki crouched down to see Naruto nearly eye to eye. Because Naruto, you need a family. You have been so alone for such a long time. You deserve it. Plus you need to socialize with kids your age. Not to mention get an education. H. Ost. Dearly beloved, BBS. She does make excellent points, Naruto. Urahara chirped happily. Naruto frowned as he looked down. Are you sure you want someone like me there? Naruto asked in a tone. He wasn't exactly the purest or nice child. Would they want their kids exposed to someone like him? Suddenly he felt soft hands on his cheeks as they raised his head to see Misaki, giving him a heartwarming smile. All I see is a little boy that deserves to have a loving family to go home to. So what do you say, Naruto? Isen asked as crouched right next to Misaki and gave a similar smile to Naruto. Naruto looked back to see Urahara and Yoruichi giving him encouraging looks. He gave Misaki a small smile. Alright, Misaki. Misaki then glumped Naruto in a soft but firm hug. It's Kasen now, Naruto, she said in a resolute tone. Naruto choked as tried to bring the words out. Hi, KK Kasen. Naruto blushed a bit at the unfamiliar world. Misaki giggled at his uneasiness as she scratched his whiskers which caused him to purr in content. Misaki couldn't help but squeal in enjoyment. So cute. As she held Naruto even tighter with Isen joining in. Let me go. Naruto cried in exasperation as tried to escape his new parents' fierce hug with his godparents watching in amusement. After getting Misaki and Isen to let go before Isen spoke up again. Well then let's introduce you to your siblings. He cheerfully said as the two led Naruto to his new family with him being rather nervous if they would accept him. When they slid a door open, Naruto heard 2 distinct girls and 1 boy shout. Kasen Tausen. Naruto looked as Misaki and Isen gave their 3 children a big family. They look like a happy family, no his family. This will take some time. Naruto thought to himself. The 3 children soon took notice of the additional person in the room. Who is this? The young girl with light blonde hair asked in a curious tone. The other girl with black hair also looked just as curious along with Ichigo. He looks funny, Karen said bluntly and caused Naruto to sweat drop as he dropped his head. Misaki and Isen giggled in amusement. Now, that is no way to talk to your new brother. Isen lectured. All 3 children shouted in shock as they looked at Naruto in a new light. That's right. Kids, meet your new brother, Naruto Kurosaki. Naruto felt a little self-conscious at all the starring of his new siblings. Hello, he said nervously as he gave a slight wave. Suddenly Naruto was glumped by the twin girls. Yay. The 2 girls shouted. We have a new brother. The blonde girl cheered happily. The black-haired girl turned to Ichigo who was still standing in shock. Ichinai, say hello. Ichigo was snapped out of his shock as he walked toward as Naruto stood up. The 2 looked at one another before Ichigo broke the silence. Thank you, Ichigo said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. For what? Mom told me how you rescued the 2 of us. That was really brave. Naruto looked at Misaki as she gave a wink. Naruto snorted before refocusing on Ichigo. It was nothing. Ichigo shook his head. It is. Also, I'm sorry. I was the one that went running after the ghost. My parents explained it to me. If I had been more careful, this wouldn't have happened. Your mom could have gotten hurt and ow. Ichigo was ranting until he was stopped by a flick to the head by Naruto. Naruto gave him a mild glare. You were annoying. I don't blame you for what happened and no one else does. Learn from this mistake and get stronger so you don't make the mistake again. That is what your name means, right? You are a protector. So become one. Naruto lectured. Ichigo looked at his new brother before laughing out loud. Naruto looked confused at what was so funny. Heh, sorry. It's just you already sound like the smart older brother. Ichigo explained. Naruto blushed as he turns his head to the side in embarrassment. Shut up, Naruto muttered. The two heard a cough as they looked to see Isin and Masaki gushing at the interaction. Now then, why don't you properly introduce yourselves? Isin offered. The two boys looked at one another as Ichigo offered his hand. Nice to meet you, Nai-san. My name is Ichigo Kurosaki. Ichigo said in a cheerful tone and cheeky smile. Naruto smiled. Things were looking up as he shook Ichigo's hand. Hello, Ichigo, my name is Naruto Kurosaki. Getting acquainted with everyone. Naruto felt his eyebrow twitch as he slashed through another hollow that tried to sneak attack him. Why was Naruto so annoyed? 3 simple words. Ichigo and Ryu. When I get my hands on those two, they'll wish they were never born. I'll break them as I did to those bastards that kidnapped Ichigo and Chad. Naruto growled. Now the reason why Naruto's so angry begins a few days ago. You see, Ichigo and Rukia were going on their routine patrols for hollows, but for some reason the hollows they were hunting kept disappearing just as they appeared in the area. This continued to happen for 2 days of patrol, something that annoyed them something fierce as Naruto heard their angry mutterings from his room. Naruto had a feeling who was responsible, and one trip to Ryokan and Kani confirmed that it was, in fact, Ryu doing this. Normally, Ryokan wanted nothing to do with anyone from the Kurosaki family, but considering that Naruto indirectly saved his wife thanks to saving Masaki and causing Urahara to check up on the Ishida household. Thanks to his indirect intervention, Ryokan has allowed Naruto into his household, if reluctantly. Despite everything Kani tried, Ryu still had an utter hatred for the Shinigami for failing to save his grandfather when he was ambushed by a herd of hollows. Ryokan was not of much help as he had renounced his Quincy heritage as he saw that nothing good came from it. Though Naruto could hardly argue with Ryokan's logic despite how twisted he says them, especially to Ryu. Thankfully Kani was there to keep him from being an absolute block of ice to Ryu. Those years of bitter resentment finally came out of Ryu when he challenged Ichigo to fight to see who could defeat the largest number of hollows. Now, this wouldn't have worried Naruto much, especially since Ichigo wasn't one for picking fights. Unfortunately, Ryu knew what buttons to push to get Ichigo riled up. He had to shake his head at his brother's antics, but then Ryu took things too far. That idiot had the nerve to use a hollow bait to attract hundreds of hollows into the entire city. Now everyone was busting their asses to get things under control. Kani swore she was going to discipline Ryu for this. She, Ryokan, Masaki, Urahara, Tessai and Yuruchi were probably spread out to different areas of the city to minimize the hollow attacks as much as possible. However, what currently worried Naruto were his sisters. Yuzu and Karen already had minor spiritual awareness to see feel ghosts, Naruto knew his, and Ichigo's high spiritual power will affect the girls and increase their own powers. This increase in their power and awareness would also lead to hollows getting attracted to their spiritual powers. Which is why he was heading towards his sister's location. His amazing sensory abilities easily allowed him to find them at a local park, but he also felt other signatures. Spiritual signatures that he easily recognized. Chad, Totsuki, and Orihime. He could feel their spiritual energies spike to unprecedented levels. They must have awakened their own powers. I need to see where they are. Naruto paused as he sensed the locations of his friends. Chad is with Yuzu and Karen. Well, that makes things easier. And Totsuki and Orihime are together. Finally, Ichigo and Ryu are near the town square. Naruto decided to head to Chad's location first as he was the most vulnerable, especially with him probably trying to protect Yuzu and Karen. Guardian, go to Orihime and Totsuki. Naruto commanded as his shadow shifted before a dark glob flew out and went into the distance while Naruto disappeared in a blur. Naruto quickly appeared at the park the girls loved to go to and saw something surprising. Yuzu and Karen were down below looking shocked, scared, and amazed. A few feet from them was Chad as he looked down at the dissolving form of a hollow. It's Chad's arm that got Naruto's attention. It was completely black in color and a red line going down the middle of the arm. Naruto raised an eyebrow at Chad's transformed appendage. So this is Chad's power. He was always proud of those arms along with that medallion. Naruto had to bite back a laugh as Chad gives the girls a thumbs up when they asked if he was okay. He could just tell from Karen's face she was not amused. Chad immediately fell over from exhaustion from using his powers for the first time as the girls go over to him. Suddenly several hollows surrounded them and Naruto decided he watched enough. Eren and Yuzu were completely terrified as Chad was nearly out cold and they were sitting ducks. The monsters surrounding them looked ready to devour them. Then the monsters screeched in pain as they were all pierced by 6 oddly shaped lances. The monsters fell to the ground as they dissolved away. The girls and a semi-conscious Chad turned to see Naruto standing a few feet away from them with hood up to conceal his identity. "Are you three okay?" he calmly asked. Eren, Yuzu and Chad all nodded. "Yes. Thank you for saving us, mister." Yuzu bowed appreciation. Naruto nodded before turning to his downed friend. "How are you, Chad?" Chad grunted. "Tired." The giant of a teen then blinked before turning to Naruto. "How do you know my name?" Naruto sighed as he turned to leave. "You will know eventually, but I need to go. There are others that need my help." Naruto was walking away when Yuzu shouted, "Wait." He paused as he glanced back to her. "Are you Naruto Nai?" Naruto froze as his eyes widened at the question. How could she know? Naruto kept quiet as he mentally debated what he should do. Karen was growing impatient with his silence and spoke up, "Come on. Answer us, Nai-san. We deserve an answer." The blonde Kurosaki mentally debated on what to do. If he did this, he knew it would mean bringing his sisters into a life he did not want them to be a part of. A life his parents tried their best to keep them away from. But he knew keeping secrets won't always protect someone. And if he says nothing, he could destroy any trust bond his sisters had for him. After what felt like several minutes of mentally debating the pros and cons, Naruto came to a decision. He sighed as he grabbed his hood and lowered it to reveal his face. The three felt their eyes widen in shock. "Nai-san." The two girls whispered in unison. They were about to speak again, but Naruto raised his hand to stop them. "Look. I know you want answers, but I can't give them to you right now. But you will get them, but know this, if you do, your lives will not be the same. Do you still want to proceed?" The two girls looked at one another, but Chad just looking at him. He already knew Chad's answer. The two girls turned back to the blonde. "Yes. Please, Naruto Nai." Naruto nodded as he created 2 clones of himself. Nai-san multiplied. The two girls exclaimed in shock and amazement. "I must be delirious. I am seeing 2 Naruto." A rather calm but panicked Chad muttered. Naruto chuckled at their actions before turning to his clones. "Take them to Urahara." His 2 clones nodded. "Right. Naruto Nai, what about Ichigo Nai? Does he know about this?" Yuzu asked. "Naruto. What have you and Ichigo been hiding?" Chad asked with a frown on his face. Naruto sighed. He knew they had a lot of questions, but his clones and Urahara can handle all of that. He had more pressing issues to deal with. "Like I said. You'll learn the truth once you get to a safe location." Yuzu and Karen looked at him with pleading eyes. "Promise." Naruto raised his pinky as them. "I pinky promise." He cheerfully promised before disappearing in a corridor of darkness. "Baka." Karen and Yuzu said with slight embarrassment. Naruto appeared near his school and quickly found Orihime and Totsuki. Orihime had 6 lights flying around her. Totsuki had orange flames covering her fists and a flame on her forehead. Naruto sighed as he knew the fire he was going to start. "Are you two okay?" The two girls whirled around, ready to fight again, but were surprised at seeing the last person they expected to see. Naruto. Naruto was about to speak, but freezes as he feels an incredible powerful Reishi oozing out of the giant cracks in the sky. He turns to the two girls. "Look, I know you have questions, but I can't answer them. I need to get you to safety and I promise you'll get your answers." The two girls looked at another before looking back at Naruto. Totsuki narrowed her eyes as she stomped towards Naruto before stopping when she's right in front of him. "You better, or else I will have to beat it out of you." Naruto chuckled as Orihime came forward and he grabbed the two as they all disappeared in a corridor of darkness. Meanwhile at the Times Square, a few minutes later. The cracks from the sky enlarged as a large white hand appeared and pulled the sky away as a massive hollow appeared. It was several meters tall and its body was completely black with a large hole at the center of its chest. It had a plain white mask with a large pointy nose and 2 small red beady eyes. The hollow took 1 step into the human world as the ground shook as the earth was embedded by its foot. Han, in Ichigo's body, looked at the new hollow in complete shock. "What is that? How can there be a hollow so big?" He mutters in shock. He turns to see Rukia looking completely terrified. "Impossible. That's Amino's grand. Gigantic hollows that live in the world of the hollows. I have never seen one up close like this except for descriptions in books. We can't handle something like this. You need to be at least the level of a lieutenant to even handle a hollow of this caliber." Rukia looked down to see Ichigo and Yuryu running to the Jillian. "Ichigo." She exclaims before her eyes narrowed in anger. "That idiot." She turned to go after him, but she soon found herself staring at Urahara's impassive face. "Stop," he ordered. "Why are you stopping me, Urahara? Ichigo is going to get himself killed. He's supposed to be your godson, right? Something you never bothered sharing until recently. Now, are you going to let him die?" Urahara merely waved his fan in a placating manner. "Have faith, Rukia, and let events play out. I am not going to let Ichigo get himself killed," she exclaimed before she felt her body completely freeze. A Keto spell. She fell helplessly to her knees as she looked at Ichigo and Yuriu approaching the Minos. "Just sit and watch, Rukia. You're in for a surprise." Urahara replied. "Bastard," she muttered. They were all going to get killed. "Ideas on how to handle this thing?" Ichigo asked his unexpected companion. "I may have an idea," Uryu replied. Ichigo was about to ask when he noticed that Uryu's bow had nearly tripled in size. "How the hell did your bow get so big?" "I absorbed the Reishi your sword was emitting. You have to channel your spiritual energy through your blade. I can use the excess energy to fire an overcharged shot at that thing's mask and hopefully shatter it to pieces." Ichigo scowled as the plan had merit, but there was one flaw to it. Himself. "One problem with this plan. I barely have any control of my spiritual energy. If I push too much through I could easily blow your arms right off their sockets." Ryu shook his head. "Don't worry. I just need you to relax and just send me as little Reishi as you can. The smallest amount. Since a small portion from you can be humongous for me." As he gestures to his bow. Ichigo sighed alright as he grasped his Zanpakuto with both arms and closed his eyes. "Hello Ichigo. It's good to see you again." Ichigo finds himself in a familiar place of his inner world with a familiar face to greet him. "Old man. You require my assistance?" "Yes, I do. I need help. Uryu is asking me to lend him some of my power, but I have never been good at controlling my spiritual power." "And you fear that you hurt your friend with your power?" Ichigo nodded as he looked down. He hated asking for help as he felt that made feel weak. That he couldn't do anything on his own. "Ichigo. It's not a sin to have fear. It's not a weakness to seek help. It is a weakness to let that fear consume you, Ichigo." "What are you asking me, old man?" "I can lend you my strength, Ichigo. I can help control your power so your friend is not hurt. But I need to know one thing. Do you trust me, Ichigo? Will you allow me to help you in this battle?" Ichigo had to pause. Did he trust the old man? He had no idea who he really was. He suddenly appeared in his inner world one day after a long day of hunting hollows. When he closed his eyes to go to sleep, he would himself in his inner world along with the old man here. Flashback. "What the hell? Where am I?" Ichigo comically screamed as he latched himself onto the ledges of the building he was on. "Calm yourself, Ichigo." Ichigo turned to the older gentleman. "Are you out of your mind?" Ichigo shouted, but then stopped when he noticed something. The man was standing perfectly still on a pole. How is he able to stand a pole like that? "Stand up, Ichigo." Ichigo blinked before slowly doing as the man asked him. He had no idea why, but he could tell the man meant no harm to him. Ichigo looked around to see everything was sideways, which would somewhat explain how he could be standing at the moment. "Where am I? And who are you?" "We are in your inner world. A reflection of your soul. As for me, I am Z." "What?" Ichigo asked. He couldn't understand the last word the old man said. The man looked rather disappointed as he looked down. "I see. Are you still not ready to hear my name?" "Sorry." Ichigo did not know why he was apologizing, but he felt like he should. The old man sighed as he looked back at Ichigo. "Regardless, I have called you here for a reason." Ichigo straightens up when he heard this. "You are progressing well with your duties as a Shinigami. Your training and meditation from your classes have helped create a foundation for your spiritual abilities." At Ichigo's glance, the old man decided to elaborate. "Your kendo lessons gave you the basis for wielding your Zanpakuto. And your meditation helped you balance your soul and helped you achieve a basic grasp of your Reishi and to use it. So what do you plan to do, old man?" Ichigo asked. "Summon your blade, Ichigo." The ginger teenage blinked in confusion. "What? Do not stand there. Now summon your blade." He snapped. Alright. Alright." Ichigo sighed as he closed his eyes and stretched out his dominant hand. "Focus your spiritual energy, Ichigo. Connect your Ryoku and drag it out from its source and picture it into the shape of your blade." Ichigo breathed in and exhaled as he searched deep within himself for the source of his power. As he searched the deep reaches of his soul, he felt a tug to his search. He immersed himself into the tug as he felt himself become enveloped in power similar to what he felt when he first got his powers from Rukia. He pulled at the power as he pictured it into the shape of his Zanpakuto. When Ichigo opened his eyes, he found himself staring at his huge Zanpakuto. The ginger-head Shinigami turned back to the older man, who nodded. "Good. Your ease at summoning your blade shows your connection is strong, despite the circumstances of how you gained your powers. What now?" The old man then summoned a black blade to his right hand. It was not as big as Ichigo's, but it was around the length of a Daido blade. Now I train you to properly wield your Zanpakuto. Ichigo smirked as he got into a battle stance. Then bring it, old man. Flashback end. From that day forward, the old man would help Ichigo every night. The two would always be sparring as he lectured Ichigo on how to fight with his blade. The two would even trade ideas for battle tactics and even discuss their hobbies and dislikes. Did Ichigo trust him? There was only one answer to that question. Ichigo opened his eyes. I trust you, old man. Then let us do this together. Back in the outside world, Ichigo's body was wrapped in a dense layer of his spiritual energy. That's it, Ichigo. Keep pouring as much as possible. Uryu proclaimed as he absorbed as much reishi as his hands could handle as he condensed all of it into the biggest arrow he could form on his already enlarged bow. The Minos had opened its maw as a condensed red sphere of reishi began to form. Rukia's eyes widened in horrific realization. A zero. A hollow flash of that magnitude could level a portion of this town. The Minos fired the giant sphere of destruction. Ichigo opened his eyes as he glared at the incoming attack. Now or never, Uryu. Uryu roared as he released a massive arrow to the zero. The condensed arrow ripped right through the sphere and pierced through the top half of the Jillian's mask. We got it. Arg. Uryu looked down to see his arms were red and steaming with blisters forming all over them. Ichigo's Reiatsu actually burned my arms. The two were cut from their victory when they saw the still living Minos charging up another zero. Oh no, it's going to fire the zero. Ichigo cursed as he rushed forward. Ichigo, wait. Uryu called, but Ichigo ignored him as the second zero was launched and Ichigo used his blade to hold back the attack. Ichigo grunted as he fell to his knees as the ground beneath him crumbled to bits. Ichigo, you told me you barely had any control of your Reiatsu. But that's not exactly true. You have some control. The problem is that you have too much Riryoku. Your huge capacity makes it impossible for your current self to properly control it. Because of that, most of your power is always bottled up due to your lack of control. But you showed some control, and if someone of your caliber were to be pushed to the edge, then your survival injects will kick in and… Stand up, Ichigo. Do you plan to fall to a mindless dole of destruction like that? No way in hell. Then stand up and unleash our power. Zan. Ichigo roared as Ichigo sent a condensed slash of reishi that ripped through the zero and Rukia could not believe her eyes. He injured the Minos grand, she muttered in a stunned tone. Urahara had a huge smirk on his lips. We did it. Ichigo panted. Indeed. And you managed to hear part of my name. Soon you'll be able to hear my full name. The old man replied. I promise. I'll learn your name, old man. Ichigo swore. Unbeknownst to Ichigo, the old man had a small smile curled upon his lips. I know you will. Ichigo sighed as he turned to his reluctant ally. Hey, Uryu, we won. Uryu snorted as he sat on the ground. Yeah, we did it. The two paused as they turned to see the Minos was still alive. What the hell? It's still alive. Ichigo complained. Uryu swore under his breath. Damn it. Your cut wasn't deep enough. And my arrow didn't destroy enough of the mask. Suddenly the hole that the Minos came in enlarged as two more came out of it. Oh great. Now there's three. The three Minos looked toward something ahead of them. Ichigo and Uryu turned to see what they were looking at and were shocked at what they were seeing. Or to be more precise, who they were seeing. Is that your brother? Uryu exclaimed. It is. What the hell? Ichigo paused as he recognized what Naruto was wearing. Wait. He's wearing that same cloak that the guy from a few days ago was wearing. What do you mean? Ichigo turned to Ryu. I mean a guy wearing that cloak came in and saved Chad and Rukia when we were dealing with a real bastard of a hollow that put a child's soul inside of a bird. Which means he's known about me being a substitute Shinigami from the Gekko. I'm sure you'll get your answers once this is all over. The two teens then noticed that the three Minos opened their jaws as a familiar red sphere began to form once again. They're all charging zeros. Ichigo then turned to Naruto. Oi. If you're going to do something, Naruto. Now's the time. Naruto smirked as he saw the three Jillians charge up their signature attack s. Let's see what you mind rejects got. Naruto raised his right hand and pointed his index finger and thumb up almost as if he was holding a gun. An orb of spiritual energy began to form on the tip of his finger as it grew to envelop nearly half of Naruto's body. That's an incredible amount of Reiatsu I'm sensing. Eat this, you bastards. Reigen, spirit gun. Naruto roared as he launched the blast just as the three Minos fired their zeros. The spirit gun traveled at incredible speeds and reached the three zeros in just a few seconds. It right through the three hollow flashes and kept traveling until it reached the three Minos and completely enveloped the heads in a brilliant explosion. All three of the Minos lost their heads as their bodies began to fall as they dissolve into nothingness. Rukia, Kon, Ichigo, and Uryu were completely stunned at what they just saw, while Urahara just had a large smile on his lips as he waved his fan happily. And know where Rukia began. He destroyed all of the Minos. Ryu continued. In one move. Ichigo finished. Naruto disappeared in a blur before reappearing in front of Ichigo and Ryu. Hey Ichigo. Naruto greeted cheerfully before smacking his brother and Ryu over the head. Ow. Ichigo cried as he clutched his head. What the hell? Ichigo's anger dissipated as he saw the malicious smile on his brother's face. I am going to have a long talk with you two on taking this little competition too far. Ichigo and Ryu gulped in fear. Urahara sighed as he saw Naruto lecturing the two. It was time to head home. He turned around as he cancelled the Kido spell that was holding Rukia down. More than likely they'll know about this incident. Were the Urahara's last words as he disappeared. Rukia looked down in concern as she thought over what she should do. Sirite. Why have we all been summoned here? It's highly unusual to have all the captains available unless something serious has happened. Aizen, captain of Squad 5, wondered out loud. I am more surprised we have all the lieutenants here as well. Usually, we have our meetings separate. Hisagi, the lieutenant of Squad 9, said. I believe we would not have been called here without a good reason. Towson, captain of Squad 9, replied. I could care less. I was the middle of a good workout. Whatever happened better be interesting. Maybe we found an enemy we could fight. Kenpachi complained. Always thinking of a fight Kenpachi, Kamamura replied. The one-eyed captain turned to the seventh captain. Better than standing idly by like a statue. My. Always itching for a fight. Another voice teased. Kenpachi turned to glare at the speaker. You got something to say to me, Ichimuro. Ichimaru Taichu. Kira, Jin Ichimuro's lieutenant, said in concern. Oh, the captains are bickering again. Aizen Taicho, shouldn't we stop them? Momo, the fifth lieutenant, asked her captain. Sadly, Momo-chan. These tend to happen all the time. It's best to ignore them until they cool off. Aizen replied. Kenpachi whirled around to glare at Aizen. What was that, Aizen? Momo squeaked in fear as she hid behind her captain. Aizen merely raised his hands in a calming manner. Now, Kenpachi. There's no need to get angry. But lord, can't you old men get along? The 10th captain, Toshiro Hitsugaya, groaned in annoyance. What was that brat? Kenpachi roared. Amamura sighed in annoyance. Here we go again. It's always like this. Soifun, Squad 2's captain, muttered in annoyance. Can't we do anything? Momo asked in concern. It would be easier to stay out of this, Momo. Renji, Squad 6 lieutenant, answered. But Renji. Any further comment was halted as a wooden staff stomped the matted floor. Enough. A booming elderly voice ordered. The captains and lieutenants stopped their chatter as the head captain, Genryusai Yamamoto Shijikuni, demanded order. I will now explain the reason for this reason. Step forward, Mayuri Taicho. The 12th captain walked forward to the center of the meeting room. I have recently got a distress message from my recon team in the human world. This raised a few eyebrows. The human world was rather tranquil, except for the sporadic hollows entering an inhabited area. What could cause a distress message to be sent? Apparently a large herd of hollows converged in the town of Karakura. Mayuri casually said. This raised concern for the Shinigami in the room. Karakura was currently the largest location of spiritual activity. For large masses of hollow to suddenly appear, what could have caused this? What caused them to converge? Kairaku, the 8th squad captain, asked. Mayuri shrugged. That has not been determined, but that is not the most interesting bit of news. Apparently 3 Minos Grand also appeared in the city. What? Several members exclaimed. Mayuri rolled his eyes. You idiots heard me. 3 Jillians appeared in Karakura town. Is the town still standing? How were they subdued? Soifun demanded. Mayuri gave her and the others a very large smile, which unnerved several of the members. Oh, that's the most interesting bit of information. Mayuri then reached into his robes and pulled out an orb. Observe from my miniature projector. The entirety of the captains and lieutenants watched as a video began to be displayed. And on the video were 2 familiar individuals. A Quincy. And who is that Shinigami? I don't recognize him. Yuki Take, the Squad 13 captain, asked. His name is Ichigo Kurosaki. He is a substitute Shinigami. There was a looming silence when those words left Mayuri's mouth. Substitute Shinigami were forbidden from being created. For one to exist means a Shinigami gave their powers to a human. A capital offense. Who did he receive his powers from? Soifun. Based on our records, the guilty party is Rukia Kichiki. Yuki Take's body grew stiff as he heard the name of his subordinate being called. Unbeknownst to everyone else, Byakuya Kichiki curled his hands into fists. We will discuss Rukia's punishment once she has been retrieved. Agreed. Yamamoto ordered as everyone else agreed. Yes, well, that is not the most interesting thing. Please observe. Everyone was stunned when they saw the 2 boys combo attack and Ichigo managing to injure the Minos. They injured a Minos Grand. Someone asked in shock, along with many others. There's no way that substitute Shinigami could have that much power. Several others immediately proclaimed. Oh, that's where things get more interesting. Everyone then notices a new face appear. Aizen and Ichimaru had to suppress a smirk when they saw who it was. Who is that? Mayuri merely pointed at the projector. Keep watching. Everyone was completely silent after seeing the aftermath of Naruto's Ryugen. He destroyed all three Jillians. Renji began. With a single attack. Several others exclaimed. Not only that. He condensed an incredible amount of Ryatsu into a single point and fired with enough speed and power to overpower the three Mino Zeros and then destroy them immediately after. And if you take a closer look, he doesn't look winded at all. That shows not only large reserves of spiritual energy, but incredible control. I dare say at a minimum he is at the level of a lieutenant or maybe a captain. Anohana, the fourth captain, said. Ginpachi looked absolutely giddy of possibly fighting the blonde and ginger brat. That is Naruto Kurosaki. Ichigo's adopted older brother. Mayuri explained. He's cute. Several people nearly face-faulted at the antics of the Squad 10 lieutenant. Ranjiku. Toshiro chided. Ranjiku shrugged her shoulders. What? It's true. Plus Momo-chan seems to agree with me. If that blush is anything to go by. Momo felt her entire turn a bright red. Ranjiku. She exclaimed in embarrassment. Not even here and he already makes an impression. Shunsui Kairaku mused. However, the captain was suddenly slapped in the back of his head with a fan. Don't get any ideas, Taicho. Nanao Ice, the Squad 8 lieutenant warned. So cruel now, Chan. Enough. Yamamoto ordered as the room was silent again. Byakuya Kichiki. The Squad 6 captain walked forward and stood in front of the head captain. Yes, so Taicho. You and Fukuteicho Abarai will go to the human world and arrest Rukia Kichiki for breaking the laws and giving her powers to a human. You will leave shortly. Am I understood? Byakuya nodded. Yes, Taicho. Yamamoto slammed his cane. This meeting is dismissed. The following day. Ryu, what happened to your arms? Ryu pushed his glasses up. I had an accident at my parents' hospital. I got burned by some medical fluids. Ah, well. Sit down for roll call. The teacher casually replied, much to her class's confusion to her laid-back response. Ichigo continued to stare at Ryu from a few rows behind. Don't blame yourself. He knew full well of the risks. Rukia lectured. Ichigo turned his head away. Who said I'm worried? He knew what he was getting himself into. My. Who said anything about worrying? I simply said not to blame yourself. Rukia teased. Ichigo snapped his head to see Rukia quietly chuckling. Grrr, he growled in annoyance. Rukia then went quiet as she looked down at her notebook. Have you spoken with your brother? Ichigo sighed. Briefly. He's known about my powers and you for a while. Did you two fight? Rukia did not hear any kind of arguing last night, but she wanted to be sure there wasn't any friction between the two. Ichigo looked at her in confusion. What? No. I'll tell you what I said to him. He must have his reasons for not telling me, so I wasn't mad. But he did say we'll talk. Late that night. Rip. Ichigo fell to his knees as blood flowed out of his left shoulder. End of the road, Ruki, Renji said. Once you die, Rukia will get her powers back before she's returned to Soul Society to be executed. Ichigo looked up in shock. Renji rolled his eyes. You really are an idiot. Did you actually think you could actually change anything by coming here? A greenhorn Shinigami like you could never lay a scratch on me. Swish. Renji looked down to see a small cut on his chin. He looked up to Ichigo giving him a snarky grin. Oops. Sorry about that. It's just I saw such a good opening while you gave your spiel that I couldn't resist. Now we're even on shoulder injuries. Renji narrowed his eyes. Little punk, he growled. Renji, Byakuya called out. You're being careless. Remember, Ichigo Kurosaki was recorded wounding Amino's grand. No novice Shinigami is capable of doing that. Do not underestimate him. Come on, Captain. A guy like him could never beat Amino's. He just got lucky with those injuries he inflicted. Ichigo felt a vein pop on his head. A guy like him. Lucky. He thought in annoyance. Renji Byakuya warned, but Renji pointed to Ichigo's blade. His sword is proof of that. Look at its ridiculous size. It shows he's a complete novice that has no control over his spiritual power. Oh, what's the name of your Zanpakuto? Renji asked. Ichigo's eyes narrowed in annoyance. And why would I tell my enemy that? Do I look stupid to you? Renji blinked before giving Ichigo a smirk. Good. At least you're not that much of a greenhorn and have some basic battle knowledge. Maybe you could have made a good Shinigami when you died, but that doesn't matter anymore. Howl, Zabimaru. Renji's blade transformed into a 6-part segmented blade with 2 pick-like protrusions on the front and back of the blade. So that is your blade's form when you call out its name. Ichigo murmured. Renji nodded. That's right. This is my Shikai. Those segments on the blade can separate and extend. Ichigo thought. Here's your prey, Zabimaru. Now feast on your food. Renji cried as he jumped into the air and whipped his sword down. Ichigo did not wait as he quickly jumped out of the way before Zabimaru slammed into the ground Ichigo was standing on. Renji gave Ichigo a smirk as his blade retracted back to its original position. Oh, you dodged my blade, even though you knew nothing about its abilities. Renji is being too careless. Byakuya mentally berated. This boy was able to keep up with Renji for a short period of time and he is aware of Zanpakutos having names. A novice he may be, but he cannot be underestimated. You think dodging one of my attacks will save you? That's foolish. Renji mocked as Ichigo dodged another swipe from Zabimaru. Come on, think. I need to figure out this guy's pattern and then I launch an attack when he's wide open. Ichigo dodged another attack as the segments of Renji's blade returned. That's when a thought came to Ichigo. Wait. Ichigo dodged 3 more swipes when the Zabimaru returned again. That's it. Every time he attacks, he extends his blade and strikes 3 times before it retracts back. When he finishes his combo, that's when I can strike. Ichigo gripped his blade as he prepared for his attack. Renji reared his sword to attack again. 1. Ichigo dodges the first attack. 2. The second strike passes. 3. The last attack missed as Ichigo saw the blade retract. Now. Ichigo screamed as he jumped into the air right above Renji. The redhead looked up in surprise. ITS, over Renji. Ichigo proclaimed as he brought his sword down only for him to completely miss. Ichigo was completely stunned, which left him open for Renji to attack. Rip. Renji left a deep cut on Ichigo's right shoulder as he fell to his knees again. Ichigo. Rukia cried in worry. What? Ichigo mentally screamed as he couldn't understand what had happened. He read Renji's move perfectly. Where did he go wrong? Renji looked down at Ichigo with a frown. You're probably wondering why your attack failed. You had it all planned out. You studied my moves and waited till you found an opening in my attacks to strike. It's a good strategy. And it would have worked if not for one detail, Ichigo. I am faster and much more experienced than you. Did you honestly expect me to not know about my gap after completing my combo attack? That was foolish of you, but I have to say that I am impressed you figured it out so quickly. Renji brought his sword up to deliver the finishing blow, but was suddenly grabbed from behind by Rukia. Ichigo, listen to me, you have to run. Take Uryu and run away, she exclaimed. What the hell, Rukia? Are you trying to get yourself an even worse sentence? Ichigo, stand up and run. Thump. Ichigo suddenly began to slowly get up as he still was looking down and obscuring everyone's view of his face. Oh, you can still stand up. Good, I can settle this with the next blow. Fighting a half-dead enemy is boring. However, Ichigo did not respond to Renji's taunts. Renji frowned. Not going to attack. Again more silence before all 3 were bombarded with an incredible amount of Reiatsu that Ichigo was emitting. What the hell? Renji exclaimed. What's with this sudden burst of spiritual pressure? This bastard was almost half dead a second ago. Where did all this power come from? Ichigo looked up to give Renji a malicious smirk. Slice. Ah. Renji grunted as he saw his shoulder cut open. This bastard, Renji began but stopped as he saw Ichigo suddenly appear right below him. The redhead quickly brought his sword forward to block, but Ichigo retailed with an upward slash that sent him flying back a bit. Crack. Renji flinched as his glasses broke and his forehead was split open with blood oozing out of the wound. What the hell is going on? Renji exclaimed in confusion. Ichigo just gave him the same malicious grin from before. What's the matter? Your movement suddenly became really slow for me, Renji. Idiot. I'm not slower. You just got faster. Ichigo continued to talk. I don't know what's happening to me, but I feel great. I don't feel the wounds on my shoulder. I don't think I won't lose to you, Renji. Ichigo lunged forward again to attack Renji. Shit, Renji muttered as he brought his sword up to block again. However, in a split second, Ichigo found his Zanpakuto was missing the top half of its blade. What the hell, Ichigo muttered. He was completely stunned. How did his sword lose its top half? What happened to my Zanpakuto? How was it cut in half? Ichigo looked up to see Renji just as shocked. It wasn't Renji. Then who? Ichigo then turned to see Byakuya several feet away from him and Renji. There's no way he could have done anything from such a distance. That's when Ichigo notices that Byakuya was holding the other half of his Zanpakuto. What everything seemed to slow down as Byakuya disappeared. For Ichigo, he could do nothing as one moment, Byakuya was there and then he was gone. Suddenly a black creature appeared in front of Ichigo and caught something. Ichigo blinked before seeing that Byakuya's blade was just a few inches away from stabbing him. His eyes widened as he realized this thing had probably just saved his life. But why would this thing come to his rescue? He was not the only one confused. Byakuya was completely stunned that this creature captured his blade before he could strike Ichigo. The question on his mind was what this creature was and was it ordered to come here or did it come of its own volition? Renji was more vocal with his questions. What is that? This has gone long enough. A new voice stated. Everyone turned to see Naruto walking towards them with a black raincoat covering his body. Brother, Ichigo said in surprise. He had not seen his brother once they left school. He said he needed to talk to their godfather. And now he had just saved him from probably getting killed again. Evening gentlemen. I believe it's time we end this little squabble. I believe enough blood has been shed, don't you think so? Naruto turned his eyes to the black creatures. Guardian, go to Ryu for now. The Guardian let go of Byakuya's blade as it went to Ryu. Byakuya lowered his sword but kept his guard up as he stared at Naruto with narrowed eyes. Naruto Kurosaki. You're the one in the report that killed the 3 Minos Grand with a single attack. Naruto gave a mock bow of appreciation to Byakuya. He looked back up to give Byakuya a blank stare. Go back to Soul Society, Kichiki. I have no business with you currently. I only came to get Ichigo and Ryu. What the hell, Naruto? You can't let get gave away with Rukia. Ichigo exclaimed in shock. What the hell was his brother thinking? Naruto sighed. Normally I wouldn't. Hell, I want to beat these 2 idiots, but the safety of you 2 is my priority. Even if I did try to fight them, who's to say they won't use Rukia or you 2 as hostages? Byakuya's eyes narrowed at the sheer arrogance coming off the boy in front of him. You speak too freely, Byakuya warned as he disappeared again. However, to the surprise of everyone, Naruto reached his arm out and caught Byakuya's sword hand. Byakuya was left completely stunned that this human could actually track his movements and grab him. That shouldn't be possible. Naruto gave the 6th squad captain a foxy grin. I thought I told you enough blood has been spilled. Byakuya did not like that smirk. It reminded him too much of Jin Ichimaru. That smirk on Naruto's face turned sinister as he glared at the 6th captain. Do not test my patience, Byakuya. Byakuya's instincts were screaming at him to move and he did just as a flash of light went through the place he was standing in. Byakuya appeared right next to Renji as he noticed a sword in Naruto's hand. It was mostly black in color with a blade in the shape of a demon's or bat's wing. It had a blue jewel at the center of its guard with a slit going down the middle and making it look like an eye. Byakuya frowned as he felt something warm on his cheek. He touched it and looked in shock to find blood on his hand. He then looked up to see Naruto smirking at him. Somehow this boy actually managed to cut him. That was a warning strike, Byakuya. Next time, you'll get more than a paper cut on the cheek. Byakuya narrowed his eyes. How dare you touch my captain? Renji began to shout before he and everyone else was hit by an incredibly powerful Reiatsu. Unlike with Ichigo, it was much denser and much darker. Everyone looked to see Naruto being covered by a black aura as his eyes began shifting color. My patience is at its limit. Don't test it anymore or you will regret it. Byakuya continued to glare at Naruto. That mouth of yours will be the death of you, boy. Naruto scoffed. Like he hasn't heard that before. Go home Byakuya, your mission was to get Rukia. You have her now go. My priority is Ichigo since you nearly tried to destroy his soul sleep. Now leave before I change my mind and beat you both and just take Rukia back. You think you can defeat us? Renji demanded. You both have your limiters on, right? Both Byakuya and Renji stiffen in shock. Meaning you only have access to about what? 20% of your full power? Naruto asked. Meaning even with your Shikai and in Byakuya's case, Bankai, you wouldn't have access to your full power. You two wouldn't be worth fighting. Both Shinigami just looked at Naruto. Who the hell was this boy and how did he know so much about Soul Society? How do you? Naruto shrugged. I did my research. Byakuya and Naruto continued to stare at one another as Ichigo, Renji, and Rukia continued to watch from the sidelines, wondering what was going to happen next. Finally, Byakuya turned around and began to walk forward. Let us go Renji. Open the Sinkamen. Renji briefly looked at his captain before walking forward with Rukia and Toll. Rukia? Ichigo called out as he tried to get up but his injuries were too severe. Shut up. Ichigo froze at Rukia's harsh tone. Don't come after me Ichigo. If you follow me Rukia turned to give Ichigo a tearful glare. I'll never forgive you. Ichigo felt utterly helpless as Rukia began to walk forward. This can't be happening again. Was he going to fail at protecting someone else again? What would you do, Ichigo? A familiar voice spoke. Will you allow fear to consume you? Will you stop moving forward? No way. I said I would never fail anyone again. I am tired of being fucking saved. I am tired of being the one protected. Then stand up, Ichigo. Abandon your fear. Look forward. Move forward and never stop. You'll age if you slow down. You'll die if you stop. Everyone turned when they felt an incredible amount of Reiatsu coming out of Ichigo's body. Naruto looked on with a raised eyebrow. Ichigo, he said slowly. Just how much power does this brat have? Renji exclaimed. Now say my name. Bleach asked. Ichigo's theme number 1. Abandon thy fears and tear the heavens asunder, Zangetsu. Ichigo roared as a massive crescent wave was sent flying into the sky and blinding everyone momentarily. When everyone regained their sight, they could not believe what they were seeing, except Naruto who had a massive grin on his face. Ichigo's Zanpakuto had transformed. It now resembled a blade kyber blade with a wide edge. Ichigo looked up to glare at the Shinigami with a tired smirk. Byakuya Kichiki, I want you to deliver this to your superiors. I will get into Soul Society and I will save Rukia. And I will kick the ass of anyone that gets in my way. Including you. Consider that he gestured up to the direction the blast of spiritual energy flew to. A preview of what's to come. Those were the last words Ichigo as his eyes rolled to the back of his head as he lost consciousness. Naruto looked down at his brother in amusement. You really are full of surprises, Ichigo. I never expected you to unlock Shikai so soon. He couldn't stop himself from chuckling a bit. But then again, you are a special case. Byakuya stared at the two brothers for a moment before turning around. We are leaving, he ordered as the three went into the Sinkamen and disappeared. Naruto sighed. Well, this looks like a mess. A voice stated. Naruto turned to his godfather approaching. Urahara. Naruto raised an eyebrow at him. How long have you been here? Urahara gave a slight smirk. A little after you came. Naruto nodded as Urahara turned to look at Ichigo. I must say, I am surprised that Ichigo has Shikai so soon. I was half expecting the need to restore his powers. Yeah, well, Ichigo isn't exactly a normal Shinigami. Plus I wasn't about to let Byakuya stab my brother and destroy his powers. Helping him recover and restoring his powers would have been a nuisance and a waste of time. Especially with your methods. He's lucky I held back and let him off with just that scratch. Urahara nodded as he went to treat Uryu's wounds. Well then. Let's talk about this elsewhere and not let the poor kids get a cold from staying out in the rain. Few hours later. No pain. I don't feel any pain from the fight. Am I dying? Is that why I am not feeling any pain? But I don't feel cold. In fact, I'm feeling warm. It's getting so warm. When Ichigo opened his eyes, the last thing he expected was seeing Tessai looking down at him. Gaya. Such a strong pair of lungs. It reminds me of your brother. It's rather nostalgic. Too close. Too close. You're too close. Boss. You and Naruto wanted me to tell you when Ichigo was up. Wait. My brother and godfather are involved in this. Ah. Ichigo grunted in pain. Wait. Ichigo looked down to see all of his injuries were covered up. My injuries have all been bandaged up. You shouldn't move too much, Ichigo. You still need to recover. Ichigo turned to see his brother and godfather approaching. Naruto. Urahara. Urahara began to flap his fan cheerfully. It's a pleasure to see you up and full of energy, my godson. Baka. The two brothers muttered. Besides feeling completely sore, how do you feel? Naruto asked as he approached Ichigo. Ichigo looked down with a scowl. Lousy, he muttered. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I expected. Ichigo's eyes widened as he just remembered something. Or rather someone. Wait, where's Uryu? Is he in here as well? Urahara shook his head. No. Uryu's injuries weren't as serious as yours. We healed him on the spot and he left to go back home. When he was leaving, he was actually worried about you. HMPH. Ichigo huffed. I told him he could rest at my place, but he declined. Thanks for saving me, but you should worry about Ichigo. The only one who could save Rukia and beat them is him. Easier said than done. I don't even know how to get into Soul Society. I can't even go in my current condition. How am I supposed to save Rukia? Actually. Ichigo turned to his godfather. There is still time for you to save her. Usually, there's a 1-month grace period for a prisoner that is sentenced for execution. No exception. Meaning the same will apply to Rukia. So we have a month to save her? Ichigo hopefully asked. Yes and no, Urahara answered. At Ichigo's confused face, he elaborated, you see, Ichigo. It will take me 7 days to construct a gateway to Soul Society. In the meantime, I and Naruto will train you for an additional 10 days. 10 days? Ichigo repeated. Naruto nodded. That's right. With that time used, we would still have 13 days to infiltrate Sirte and get Rukia. Ichigo nodded alright. I'm in. Ichigo noticed them not say anything and looked up to see Naruto's amused smirk and Urahara's surprised expression. What? He finally asked. Urahara shook his head. I honestly expected you to shout that you had no time for training and that you needed to rescue Rukia now. Ichigo looked down. Even if I wanted to, I am in no shape to do anything. Even if I was, what the hell could I do? Ichigo looked up at Urahara. I was getting my ass whooped by Renji and that other guy, Byakuya. I couldn't even see him move. He then turned to his brother. That's why you didn't do anything to help before, right? You wanted me to see the gap between me and the other Shinigami, right? Naruto nodded. Yeah. I wanted to show you that there was still room for you to grow stronger. Then again, you did grow stronger from that fight as you managed to achieve your Shikai, which did surprise me. Naruto answered. I still have a lot to learn about being a Shinigami and how to use Zangetsu. Indeed. It was a good thing that I stopped the fight when I did. Ichigo looked confused. What do you mean? Ichigo. How much did Rukia tell you about being a Shinigami? Ichigo crossed his arms as he tried to recall everything that Rukia told him. She told me a bit about Soul Society and that Shinigami have several forms of combat like Zanjutsu, Kido, Ho-Ho, and Hakuta. But she never went into a lot of details as she said, I wouldn't need to know too much since I would only be dealing with regular hollows. Naruto nodded. Well, she wasn't completely wrong. You see, Byakuya is one of the best users of Shunpo, which is the main technique used in the combat style of Ho-Ho. What he was planning to do was destroy your Hakusui and your Seketsu. Had that happened, you would have lost your Shinigami powers and became a normal spirit again. Ichigo paled at the thought of losing his powers and his connection to Zangetsu. So that's why you intervened when you did. You didn't want me to lose my powers. Yeah. Plus, had you lost them, it would have been a hassle to restore your powers and taken time off for us to train you. But one good thing did come out of this. You mean my Shikai? Naruto nodded. Yeah. By awaking your Shikai, you have erased the last remnant of Rukia's power that was within you. Wait, if that's true, then how do I still have Shinigami powers? Naruto and Urahara looked at one another before looking back at the injured Shinigami. The truth is, Ichigo. You've always had Shinigami powers. Rukia's powers just semi-awakened them. Ichigo's eyes widen. What? But that's crazy. I mean, I always could see spirits and Rukia always said I had high spiritual energy. But for me to have Shinigami powers, that would mean one or both of my parents are a Shinigami. Ichigo looked up to see Naruto and Urahara stay silent. He sighed in annoyance. Damn, I really was out of the loop, he muttered before looking back at them. I'm guessing they told you to keep quiet about your abilities. You probably wanted to say something, but they told you to hold it off. Naruto nodded. Ichigo waved his arm to them. Relax, I am not mad. They probably had their reasons for their actions. When they're ready to spill their guts, I'll be there ready to sit down and listen to them. Huh? You handled that a lot better I thought you would. Perhaps your brother and your mother have knocked some sense into you. Urahara teased. Piss off, Urahara. Naruto and Ichigo said at the same time. Ichigo then thought of something. Wait, if you know about this, then Yuruchi does too. Yup. It's one of the reasons why she created the dojo. It was to keep track of everyone that was spiritually aware and had the capacity of gaining powers. Naruto explained. Ichigo's eyes widened. Wait, that means that Naruto nodded to his suspicions. Yeah. Orihime, Chad, and Totsuki have all gained powers. They all awakened them during your little pissing contest with Uryu. Ichigo flinched right. He still remembered the earful his brother gave him after the battle with Aminos. They also saw our fight with Aminos. Ichigo looked up to ask something, but Urahara raised his hand to stop him. I told them if they wished to train they just had to give me their reply by tomorrow evening. Have they given you any responses? Ichigo asked. Chad already said yes, as did Totsuki. I am waiting on Orihime. She'll probably say yes, Ichigo said confidently. How do you know? Urahara asked. She may be kind, but Orihime isn't the one to ignore someone that needs help. Naruto smirked in amusement. Such confidence in your girlfriend. Ichigo nodded. Yeah, wait. Damn it. Naruto and Urahara couldn't help but laugh as Ichigo's face turned as red as his hair. Piss off, both of you, assholes. He shouted in anger and embarrassment. The next day. Okay, everyone. Try and stay alive and I will see you all in September. Hey, let's go get some sushi. I was thinking about a burger. Let's go, the ones with that amazing taste. Which one? Hurry up. You've played that new game? Yeah, it's amazing. Did you hear what happened in Sokovia? Yeah, I heard it got lifted off the sky. Man, that's crazy. Ryu didn't show up today. Everyone in the class has forgotten about Rukia. Besides myself and Naruto. Totsuki, Orihime, and Chad probably remember, but I can't talk to them yet. Ichigo thought before a blindfold was tied to his head. Ichigo, Kigo sang as he twirled Ichigo around. Now where's the watermelon? Wham. Gah. It's crack the watermelon, not crack the Kigo. Still satisfying, Ichigo said. So cruel. Kigo replied. Outside in the school park. Watermelons. Pretzels. Swimming trunks. Goggles. Sunscreen. Towels. Umbrellas. Coolers. iPod. Speakers. Beach ball. And of course Kigo listed off before bringing a pair of female swimsuits. Bathing suits. He finished. This is the definition of a good summer. Summer means the ocean. And I, Kigo Asano, propose a 10-day co-ed trip to the beach. Yeah, sorry, but I am going to have to say no, Ichigo said. Same here, Naruto replied. What? The fuck you mean no? Kigo exclaimed. Naruto and Ichigo sweat drop. Damn, he's taking this hard. It's nothing personal. It's just we already have something planned and it's going to take a month-long trip, Ichigo explained. I mean, Ichigo wouldn't mind seeing Orihime and Totsuki in bathing suits, but we kinda have our obligations. Naruto casually said. What the hell, Naruto? Ichigo screamed with a red face. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. What? Don't tell you didn't think about the two girls in bathing suits before. Yeah, I have, but that was supposed to be a secret, Ichigo shouted before covering his mouth. Naruto smirked as he saw Ichigo's, Totsuki's, and Orihime's faces turn bright red. Well, thanks for confirming it. Thank you, Naruto. Ichigo, Totsuki, and Orihime thought. After calming down, Orihime spoke up. Sorry to say, Kigo, but Totsuki and I already have plans as well. You're gonna have to count me out as well, Chad replied. If Totsuki and Orihime aren't going, then I am going to say no as well. Kigo looked absolutely defeated. He turned to Kojima wearing a scuba mask. Ah. I am going to snorkeling with my girlfriend tomorrow. You little bastard. Kigo screamed as he grabbed Kojima by the collar. Why are you only doing this to me? Because Chad is too tall, Ichigo would slug me and I don't have to explain, Naruto. Well, he's not wrong. Everyone thought, especially since they knew about Naruto and the incident. Actually, I am going with her girlfriend and 9 of her friends. Everyone had to stop themselves from facepalming. He just added fuel to the fire. Who do you think you are? Some Hollywood playboy? Arg. I was planning to invite you as well. Kigo paused as he looked at the raven-haired boy. Really? He asked as Kojima nodded. Of course. You're the best. Kigo cried happily. Ouch. You're crushing me. What a shift in attitude. Everyone thought. Later that day, the two Kurosaki brothers were walking home when they saw 2 familiar faces. Orihime. Totsuki. What's going on? Ichigo asked. We need to talk, Ichigo, Totsuki replied. After a few minutes of explaining everything, the 2 girls stayed silent as they processed everything they heard. Orihime finally broke the silence. I see. So she was forced to go back home. Ichigo nodded. What do you plan to do? She asked. Rukia is originally from that world, she has friends and family there. Wouldn't it be right for her to stay over there? If you manage to take her back here, what then? Will you keep her from her friends and family? Would it be the right thing? That's Ichigo started before Orihime spoke again, surprising. Ichigo looked back at her. What? I don't need to ask you to know your answer. Even if we did scold you, I can tell your mind is already set. Orihime said in an amused tone as she got up to her feet. You'd pucker your lips, scrunch your chin up and cross your arms in a haughty pose and say. As long as you're alive you can visit them at any time you want. It's when you're dead you can't do anything. Orihime said in her best Ichigo voice. Naruto had to stop himself from laughing. Orihime then looked at the 2 brothers with a huge smile. That's the response I expect from Ichigo. So Gave save her, but no, this Orihime began as Totsuki walked up next to her. We'll be right there, ready to help you when you need it. Ichigo looked at the 2 in wonder before walking over and giving them a grateful hug. Orihime. Totsuki. Thank you. He said sincerely. Both girls blushed. I idiot. Totsuki stammered. And no problem, Orihime replied. Naruto gave them his own hug, though they weren't as embarrassed. They did catch a sly smirk from Naruto, which meant trouble for them in the future. As the 2 boys were walking away, Totsuki turned to Orihime. So have you decided? She asked. The ginger-haired girl nodded. Yes. Let's go see Yoruichi. In front of Urahara's shop. Are you ready then? Urahara asked. Ichigo nodded. Yeah. Well then, let's begin. Please teach me well, Urahara. Naruto. Ichigo said as he bowed to both of them. Urahara looked confused. Is something wrong with you? Ichigo looked up with a determined look in his eyes. Nope. He replied, nothing at all. Naruto and Urahara smirked as the 3 went into the candy shop. The summer camp training has begun. What if Naruto power of nothingness bleach end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.